Okay, we're live on YouTube. Let's get the TikTok live going as well real quick. Let me just announce this on Discord. Okay. I think we have everything up and running. Actually, no, hold on. Let's just do this real quick. Hold on. To everyone who's hopping on, make sure you guys are double tapping the screen. I don't know how many debates we're going to get today. I do also want to cover, I don't know if people noticed, there's some stuff that's been happening recently in Venezuela. It's kind of fringe news. So this happened while I was out of town visiting family, so I haven't really gotten to look deeply into it. I never got to watch the full press conference from Trump and Hegseth and Rubio about the logic behind this supposed arrest warrant being leave it to them to come up with the, what do they call them, novel legal theories to just break whatever parts of the Constitution they want. Like, they're executing an arrest warrant for a foreign head of state, and they're like drone striking the country and sending like helicopters and special forces. Apparently that's allowed now with zero congressional approval. Okay. I get it's, we'll get into it. Again, I'm not sure how much we're going to be doing debates today. I do just want to really cover this recent news because holy fuck. And yeah. But Bush Sr. did do something very similar to this. The point that I would make is I like that we do stuff like this relatively less over the last decade. I mean, first of all, even what happened under Obama in Libya, like I'm under no illusions that U.S. foreign policy is like, oh, we've never ever destabilized another country. But what Trump did here was not normal. And this is one issue I keep running into is like, you have to simultaneously be able to hold in your head that America's foreign policy has in many regards been disastrous, especially in like the post-Cold War era. But then at the same time, we can't just normalize what Trump did. Exactly. Here's the thing, right? I would still say what happened in Libya was probably not for the best overall. It's something I want to read more about. Foreign policy is so complicated, but I think it actually matters to build some kind of international consensus and get some kind of approval, or at least let Congress know. And a lot of people don't think that those things are relevant. They think it's just like window dressing over the American empire or whatever. But I actually do think that like trying to build consensus amongst sovereign states before you do something like this is better than just doing it solo. And they literally had pulled up a big TV screen just reading the Twitter. Has anyone seen these pictures? I need to pull these up. Hold on. Trump, Venezuela. Hold on. Does anyone know where to find these pictures? Hold on. Pictures of Trump admin during Venezuela operation. And hold on, let's switch to screen share. We are just going to be covering a lot of news today, I think, ultimately. There we go. What's going on? There we go. Okay. I'm trying to find... Bro, does anyone know where I can find this? Hold on, maybe it's on Twitter. It's actually unreal what's happened here. As they're doing this operation, not in the Situation Room, by the way, in fucking Mar-a-Lago Resort, as these people are doing this operation in Venezuela, they have the word Venezuela searched on Twitter on a big TV screen. Like, juxtapose this with like the raid against Osama bin Laden. It's so We'll get into it. This is so corny. Hold on. And oh my god, Rubio's having a field day. Bro, what are we doing here? They're pulling up memes. They literally went on Twitter and searched up the word Venezuela, and then they went to latest. And that was how they were monitoring the situation. Like, what are we doing here? It's so embarrassing. It's so embarrassing. I want to go over this, though. I want to make a point to everyone who is running around from comment section to comment section talking about, are you defending Maduro right now? You know Maduro's a really bad guy. Yeah, no shit, Maduro's a... The question, just newsflash to everyone, the question was never, is Maduro a bad guy? Should Maduro be the leader of Venezuela? I think every normal person agrees, horrible leader who has made life hell for people over there, and it would be better if he wasn't the leader. That is not the question. That was never the question. The question is, what is the role of the United States on the world stage? And even within that context, what is the role of one man acting unilaterally? So not just should the United States be inserting itself into the affairs of other countries to quote-unquote liberate them, when that's not even what's happening, but even if we take the stated intention at face value, which is a lie, right? These people are acting like, oh, Trump just wanted to liberate the Venezuelans. Oh yeah, Trump, the man of the people, right? The man of the people who he wants to liberate poor brown people. That's been his MO since day one, for sure. That's definitely what it's about, except he doesn't even pretend like that's what it's about. And they're so desperate to avoid having to go through checks and balances. Guys, it's not a war. We're executing a warrant. You know how when you execute a warrant and you like send a bunch of ships to be right by that country, you start moving your navy and your submarines, and then you start sending special forces and helicopters? Just executing a warrant, guys. It was a strike. I mean, a war is a loaded term that I think implies like some long-term engagement, which it seems like they're fine with. He said, we're fine with having boots on the ground there, as long as we can get the oil. But just to be clear, here's my issue with the conversation that's happening right now. My faith in the United States has been killed by that conversation that's ensued from this. Number one, realize all of these Republicans, they were wearing No New Wars as an aesthetic. It was just an aesthetic. No New Wars was never real for the right wing. The right-wing anti-war movement was a joke. It was never a real thing. It was just, that was the popular thing to say. Have you ever been in the military? Yeah, I'm the king of the military, actually. And here's my issue with the conversations we have here. I don't want to debate someone. Like when someone comes and thinks the debate is, was Maduro a good person? That's not the question. I don't think anyone disagrees Maduro's a bad person. The question is, what does that entail for the United States and how it conducts itself on the world stage? And here's my question for everyone who is salivating and nutting in their pants over this. Who else? Who's next? If your standard is that any dictator who's a brutal dictator that the people don't like, the U.S. gets to go in and remove them from power, okay, which other countries? Give me a list of all the countries and say it with your chest. Go tell everyone what war hawks you are and interventionists you are. Because you can't simultaneously wear this camouflage of no new wars and this isn't our business, no more regime change, and then you're a fan of this. It's a win-win for both countries. You're lying. Anyone who pretends like they know how this is going to play out is a fucking idiot. Either which way. You don't just go into a country and then remove their leader and start intervening and act like you know how that's going to play out. The entire reason people are reticent to engage in this type of interventionism is not just because there's a question of, does the United States have the power to do this? It's also the question of, how does this play out a decade from now, 2 decades from now? You don't, just by the way, senior military analysts don't know this. So fucking MAGA Patriot 123 on TikTok definitely doesn't know this. I'm so sick of these armchair experts and quarterbacks who don't know what the hell they're talking about. And in these conversations, trying to be intellectually honest and saying, number one, foreign policy is complicated. Number two, we actually have a constitution. If you say stuff like that, people are like, bro, this was epic though. Did you see the videos of the explosions? How epic they were? And oh my God, Trump is based. He's showing them who's boss. Hey, Marcos, I don't know if there's something shoved up your ear canal and you didn't hear what I said. No one is disputing that Nicolas Maduro is a horrible guy and that people wanted him gone. No one is disputing that. The question is, What does that mean for the United States? You people are actually fucking stupid. Like, there are certain words I want to use for people sometimes that I will not use because it's not right. But this is such a dishonest tactic to argue this. All the comments I'm seeing are like, oh, you're saying Maduro's a good guy. No, dipshit. We're not saying Maduro's a good guy. There's plenty of bad guys that run countries. Welcome to geopolitics. There are plenty of extremely unpopular dictators that run countries and steal elections. That's not the question. The question is, does the United States then get to go into that country, kill over 80 people, and extract this person, and then choose who gets to take power afterwards? That's the question. The question is not, was Maduro a bad guy? So stop pretending like that's the battle we're fighting. That's not the battle we're fighting. And then even within that context, by the way, even if someone wants to make the dumbass argument that the United States gets to invade any country they want under the pretext of an indictment and then do regime change, even if we grant that, which we shouldn't, does the president get to do that single-handedly with no input from Congress, with no authorized use of military force? Without even telling Congress? These people love fast-forwarding past the means to the ends. They love debating with us, is Maduro a good guy, and not, okay, but what do you do about that? And is that legal? And I'm going to ask these people again. I'll even grant you, okay, nuclear-armed countries, there's a deterrent there. Does everyone who's cheering for this think that the United States should now invade every single country with a dictator that steals elections and do regime change? If you're being logically consistent and you're not just fucking eating up slop of, oh, did you see how epic those explosions were? If you're being logically consistent, I would like you right now in the chat to write up an entire list of every single country you think the United States should send special forces into to detain people, the world leaders, and send them back here while airstriking. Give me a list of countries. And then just say you want an empire, you want interventionism. Just say it. Stop pretending like you're like America first or no new wars. Say it with your chest. I want you people on CNN. You're fucking, who's that guy? Scott Jennings. I want all of your little MAGA goons who go out there and you play like you care about the American people. Tell the American people what you actually want, which is what Trump is saying, which is that this is just the beginning. Greenland is next. We're going to start doing kinetic land strikes in Mexico. Just be intellectually honest. But I'll tell you why these people are not giving me a list of countries they want to invade. They have not thought this through. They saw videos of explosions, and they were like, "Whoa, yo, did you see how big those explosions were? Oh my God, China and Russia, we showed them who's boss with those explosions. Yes. Can you believe we deposed a dictator in only a few hours? Yeah, I can believe that. We have the strongest military on the planet. No fucking shit. The question is, how do we use that military power? And to the guy saying, who said we want more? If you're being intellectually honest and you believe the United States ought to invade any country with a dictator and then do regime change, Venezuela is not the only country that meets that criteria. So give me a list of all the other countries where, sure, you could remove those world leaders as well and people would be cheering and they'd be celebrating, but that's not the question, guys. Actually, it's not the question. And it's dishonest and stupid to pretend like that is the question. Let's watch this.
Big stuff. We appreciate you being here.
Like, I just want everyone to understand the way these people think. Trump could have an American citizen just killed and then say this was a really bad guy. And then we'd be like, oh, that's illegal. Illegal schmillegal, okay? Trump's doing what had to be done. Yes. Strong leader, strong man. They have the intellectual capacity of a 12-year-old child in how they think geopolitics works.
Late last night and early today, at my direction, the United States Armed Forces...
Notice how throughout this entire chat, there's not a single substantive response to what I've said. And by the way, I'm still learning about this in terms of what took place. I didn't just jump into debates. I actually want to watch this press conference and read a little bit. I want to read the indictments also. The indictments against Maduro, we're going to go through those on stream as well. And then after that, we're going to start doing debates because this happened while I was on vacation. Here's the thing. regardless of the details of this, and if Venezuelan people are happy that Maduro's gone, that is not my question. My question is, was this legal? Was this legal? And number two, is this the role the United States ought to play on the world stage? Those are the actual questions.
Conducted an extraordinary military operation in the capital of Venezuela. Overwhelming American military power, air, land, and sea, was used to launch a spectacular assault. And it was an assault like people have not seen since World War II. It was a force against a heavily fortified military fortress in the heart of Caracas to bring outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro to justice. This was one of the most stunning, effective, and powerful displays of American military might and competence in American history. And if you think about it, we've done some other good ones like the attack.
But just a news flash. The American military has the power to do regime change in a lot of countries. No one has ever disputed. People are like, can you believe how successful the operation? Yeah, I can believe this was fucking Venezuela against the United States. This is like Deontay Wilder boxing a fucking 4-year-old. And you're like, did you see that knockout?
On Soleimani, the attack on al-Baghdadi, and the obliteration and decimation of the Iran nuclear sites just recently in an operation known as Midnight Hammer. All perfectly executed and done. No nation in the world could achieve what America...
Also, these people shift the goalposts so much. I promise you, if you went back to the 2024 campaign cycle and you told Trump supporters, don't vote for Trump, he's going to go in Venezuela and do regime change, they would say, you have Trump derangement syndrome, he would never do that. And then he does it, and they defend it like clockwork.
Achieved yesterday, or frankly, and
these are like not serious people who argue in good faith or even argue anything of substance. If Trump says jump, they say, yes, sir, how high would you like us to jump? Should I do a little twirl for you as well while I'm in the air?
Short period of time. All Venezuelan military capacities were rendered powerless as the men and women of our military, working with U.S. law enforcement, successfully captured Maduro in the dead of night. It was dark. Hey,
guess what? People in Iraq were celebrating also. I'm sure there were people in Libya that were celebrating. Like, that's not how you justify geopolitical operations. Like, this is so stupid.
Lights of Caracas were largely turned off due to a certain expertise that we have. It was dark, and it was deadly. But captured along with his wife, Celia Flores, both of whom now face American justice. Maduro and Flores have been indicted in the Southern District of New York. It's Jay Clayton, for their campaign of deadly narco-terrorism against the United States and its citizens. I want to thank the men and women of our military who achieved such an extraordinary success overnight with breathtaking speed, power, precision, and competence. You rarely see anything like it. You've seen some raids in this country that didn't go so well. They were an embarrassment. If you look back to Afghanistan, or if you look back to...
That wasn't a raid. That was literally a withdrawal, which you negotiated. And by the way, just to be clear, Biden deserves criticism for how he withdrew from Afghanistan. You know what that criticism is? The criticism is that Biden should not have stuck to the plan that Trump negotiated. Biden should have negotiated a new plan because Trump's plan was dumb. He had a warrant by the DOJ. All of a sudden, these fuckers are so obsessed with indictments. It's illegitimate when Trump's indicted, but if a foreign head of state is indicted, we get to take military action. Right. For sure.
Jimmy Carter days. They were different days. We're a respected country again, like never before. These highly trained warriors operating in collaboration with U.S. law enforcement caught them in a very ready position. They were waiting for us. They knew we had many ships out in the sea. We were just sort of waiting. They knew we were coming.
By the way, quick test to figure out who's an authoritarian and who isn't. Even if this operation, which I don't think it will, was to go 10,000% smoothly and there's literally no one dies and everything's sunshine and rainbows and Venezuela becomes amazing, even if that was the outcome, if this was illegal, according to like the U.S. Constitution, it would still be bad. People don't understand the purpose of checks and balances at all. They really believe the ends justify the means. That's authoritarian logic. So hold them to that, right? Is it okay to break the law if the outcome is good? If they say yes, then you know what they are.
So they were in a ready, what's called a ready position.
And the outcome's not going to be good, to be clear. But even if the question is not, once you start debating, are the ends good? You almost implicitly let them win the argument on like, what about the legality of this?
But they were completely overwhelmed and
Why did they arrest his wife? We're gonna read through the indictment after we watch this video.
very quickly incapacitated. If you would have seen what I saw last night, you would have
Because there's a lot here. I want to be very like well read on this before I start debating it.
been very impressed. I'm not sure that you'll ever get to see it, but it was an incredible thing to see.
Venezuelans are happy. Your opinion doesn't matter. Okay, can you please give me a list of other countries with dictators we should invade and do regime change? Able Pack 1? Give me a list. Everyone's watching now. Don't go quiet. Give us a list in the chat of all the other countries we should liberate. There are plenty of other countries out there with horrible dictators that the people hate, that we could very easily do regime change in like a couple days or a week. Many countries that match that criteria. Give me a list of which other countries.
Not a single American service member was killed. And
Colombia, Mexico, Cuba, etc. Okay, are you an imperialist? And should Congress have to sign off on that? Just make these people say what their position is. Should Congress have to sign off on that?
a single piece of American equipment was lost. We had many helicopters, many planes, many people involved in that fight. But think of that, not one piece of military equipment was lost, not one service member was more importantly killed. The United States military is the strongest and most fearsome military on the planet by far. With capabilities and skills our enemies can scarcely begin to imagine. We have the best equipment anywhere in the world. There's no equipment like what we have, and you see that.
Stephen Miller's wife is tweeting out pictures of Greenland becoming American territory. Nobody was hurt and nothing was lost. Over 80 people were killed, including civilians. You're just fucking stupid. You're just wrong. You're just lying. This is not like we have a difference of opinion. You're lying. People were hurt. At least 80 people died, including civilians. People were hurt. Oh, wait, I forgot. If they're not American, they're not people in your eyes. Is that how it works?
Even if you just look at the boats, we've knocked out 97% of the drugs coming in by sea. 90%. Each boat kills 25, on average, 25,000 people. We knocked out 97%. And those drugs mostly come from a place called Venezuela. We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved.
And hold on. Let's get some clarity from the Trump glazers in the chat. Because Trump loves doing this thing where he gives like 10 different justifications for an action. And then everyone gets like, oh, pick your favorite. So was this because of drugs? Was this because Nicolas Maduro was a dictator who had to be removed from power to liberate his country? Which one was it? Was this for natural resources and oil? Pick. They have to literally wait for Trump to give them the reasoning. Because remember what they used to do? They did this with tariffs as well, right? When tariffs were first floated, they said, you silly lib, Trump's not actually going to do tariffs. It's a negotiating tactic. Yes, tariffs are dumb. He's just using them as a bargaining chip. He's just using the threat of tariffs. Then he does the tariffs. Listen, silly lib, tariffs are based. These same people saying, dude, Trump's not actually going to have fucking boots on the ground in Venezuela, you idiot. He's just pressuring Nicolas Maduro to get him to capitulate. And then there's boots on the ground. Listen, silly lib, of course there has to be boots on the ground. They lack self-awareness. Are these people even sentient? Are they sentient?
With having somebody else get in, and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. And it has to be judicious, because that's what we're all about. We want peace, liberty,
and by the way, if this is how geopolitics works now, here's my new litmus test for the 2028 Democratic primary. We need someone to come in and appoint an attorney general who is going to indict Benjamin Netanyahu. And then we have to do an extraction operation, guys, to get Netanyahu out of Israel and bring him here to charge him with crimes. We can find something, right? As MAGA themselves loves to say, indictments aren't a big deal. You could indict a ham sandwich, right? Which now I'm wondering, what did this ham sandwich do? Clearly something worse than Letitia James and James Comey did, because their indictments were thrown out. So any other world leader, including Netanyahu, if they're at least as guilty as this ham sandwich who can be indicted, then let's go do regime change. If this is the game we're playing, let's do regime change in Israel. Let's do it.
justice for
You guys support that?
the great people of Venezuela and that includes many from Venezuela that are now living in the United States and want to go back to their country. It's their homeland. We can't take a chance that somebody else takes over Venezuela that doesn't have the good of the Venezuelan people in mind.
Honest question to everyone watching. Do you seriously believe that Donald Trump is doing this because he cares about the interest of the Venezuelan people? And to the people talking about, like, for example, Obama. The biggest criticism the left has of Obama was his foreign policy, and things like his drone strikes, and deferring to the Office of Legal Counsel to take action which may have been potentially illegal, we don't even know, right? And Obama himself says the biggest mistake of his presidency was what happened in Libya. We should learn from those mistakes. People say, oh, America's done this before. Yeah, and it was bad. Dumbass, it was bad that we did that before. And we started moving in a better direction, right? Biden actually withdrew us from a country. How long has it been since we withdrew from somewhere instead of having another fucking forever war?
Decades of that. We're not going to let that happen. We're there now, and what people don't...
Why are we using fucking Cold War era tactics of foreign policy?
Understand, but they understand as I say this. We're there now, but we're going to stay until such time as the proper transition can take place. So we're going to stay until such time as we're going to run it, essentially.
Two things. Number one, someone said Maduro stole the election from the real winner. Okay. Under your same logic, could China indict Donald Trump because Donald Trump has done something which is a crime in China, and because Trump attempted a coup in 2020? Do other countries get to do this thing where they can indict foreign heads of state and then send in armed forces to extract them? Or does only America get to do that? Let me know. Because now, China can just go into Taiwan. Why the fuck not, apparently? Russia can keep pushing in Ukraine. Why the fuck not, apparently? And see, these dumb... Biden stole the election. Okay.
Until such time as a proper transition can take place. As everyone knows, the oil business in Venezuela has been a bust, a total bust, for a long period of time. They were pumping almost nothing by comparison to what they could.
Here's the thing. I'm sure every criticism we're about to hear of, like, Maduro's a brutal dictator and Venezuela's economy is horrible. Yes, all true. Also not really fucking relevant to the question of does the president get to unilaterally do regime change? It's actually not the question.
Have been pumping, and what could have taken place. We're going to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, go in, spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken infrastructure, the oil infrastructure, and start making money for the country. And we are ready to stage a second and much larger attack if we need to do so. So we were prepared to do a second wave if we needed to do so. We actually assumed that a second wave would be necessary, but now it's probably not. The first wave, if you'd like to call it that, the first attack was so successful, we probably don't have to do a second, but we're prepared to do a second wave, a much bigger wave, actually. This was pinpoint, but we have a much bigger wave that probably won't have to do. This partnership of Venezuela with the United States of America, a country that everybody wants to be involved with because of what we were able to do and accomplish, will make the people of Venezuela rich, independent, and safe. And it will also make the many, many people from Venezuela that are living in the United States extremely happy. They suffered. They suffered. So much was taken from them. They're not going to suffer anymore. The illegitimate dictator Maduro...
Okay. Let's use this logic. Let's go do regime change in North Korea, in Russia, in Saudi Arabia, in Iran, in a whole host of other countries. This is the logic, right? If a leader is bad and oppresses his people, America is now the world police. Okay. Argue that then. Argue that.
Was the
Don't hide behind Maduro's a bad guy. Yeah. Yeah, we all agree Maduro's a bad guy. Stop being a fucking coward and hiding behind the obvious-ass, uncontroversial statement that Maduro is horrible. Stop hiding behind that statement and say with your chest that you like interventionism and imperialism.
The vast criminal network responsible for trafficking colossal amounts of deadly and illicit drugs into the United States. As alleged in the indictment, he personally oversaw the vicious cartel known as Cartel de las Solas, which flooded our nation with lethal poison, responsible for the deaths of countless Americans, the many, many Americans. Hundreds of thousands over the years of Americans died because of him.
Also, I don't know that you get to stand on a pedestal about we need to go after drug traffickers when you just indicted one, the ex-president of Honduras. What about that? And yes, there's a copy of the indictment online. There's a PDF. We're going to read it.
Maduro and his wife will soon face the full might of American justice and stand trial on American soil. Right now, they're on a ship they'll be heading to, ultimately, New York, and then a decision will be made.
I want to be clear. There is an argument in favor of what Trump did. It's a bullshit argument, but there is a coherent argument in favor of what Trump did. You know what that argument is? The president should have unilateral power to do regime change in whichever country he wants. I meant pardoned, correct. I didn't mean indicted. The president should have unilateral power to do regime change in any country he wants based on his own discretion. That's the argument. People don't even want to make that argument because it's fucking unhinged. So they hide behind, Maduro's a bad person. You want Venezuelans to not be free. They hide behind that.
I assume between New York and Miami or Florida. But we have people where the overwhelming evidence of their crimes will be presented in a court of law. And I've seen it. I've seen what we have. It's both horrible and breathtaking that something like this could have been allowed to take place. For many years after his term as president of Venezuela expired, Maduro remained in power and waged a ceaseless campaign of violence, terror, and subversion against the United States of America, threatening not only our people, but the stability of the entire region. And you all saw it. In addition to trafficking gigantic amounts of illegal drugs that inflicted untold suffering and human destruction all over the country, all over in particular the United States, Maduro sent savage and murderous gangs, including the bloodthirsty prison gang Tren de Aragua, to terrorize American communities nationwide. And he did indeed. They were
Remember when Trump invoked the Alien Enemies Act and implied that we were at war with Venezuela? Oh, and by the way, I have some really bad news for Trump supporters. Does everyone here know who Susie Wiles is? Trump's chief of staff? Susie Wiles? She said in an interview before this happened that if Trump wanted to do regime change, he would need Congress. She said he would need Congress to do that, by the way. She said that. And she also said this is about about oil and regime change. It's not about drugs. She said that.
Colorado, they took over apartment complexes. They cut the fingers off people if they call police. They were brutal. But they're not so brutal now. And I just have to congratulate our military, Pete, and everybody, and our National Guard, because the job that they've done, whether it's in Washington, D.C., where we have a totally safe city, where it was one of the most unsafe cities anywhere in the world, frankly, and now we have no crime in Washington, D.C. We haven't had...
This man lies with so much fucking impunity. Article 2 of power. Look it up, bud. Yeah, Article 2 explains the powers of the executive branch. And what does Article 1 tell us? Hey, AblePack 1, what does Article 1 tell us about how military operations are supposed to work? Tell us. What is, like...
A killing. We had the terrorist attack a few weeks ago.
This is, by the way, every time the Trump administration does something blatantly unconstitutional, this is what they say. Article 2 power, national security, Article 2 power, national security. They just keep using these same buzzwords.
A threat. But we haven't had a killing in a long period of time, 6-7 months. We used to have 2, on average 2 a week in Washington, our capital. We don't have that anymore. The restaurants are opening. Everyone's happy. They're going, they're walking their daughters, they're walking their children, their wives, they walk to...
Please, okay, someone said Congress allowed it. Please show me where this happened. We're doing a research stream right now, learning about what took place. Maybe I missed this. I'm human. I'm fallible. I can make mistakes. Please show me where Congress authorized this. Show me. I'm waiting. You can tell me what I'm supposed to search up for where Congress authorized this. Because it's confusing to me that you're saying Congress authorized this, but then as it was happening, there were Republican Congress people going on Twitter clearly caught off guard by what happened here. Like, what is this? How is this legal?
Restaurants are opening all over Washington, D.C. So I want to thank the National Guard. I want to thank our military. And I want to thank law enforcement. It's been amazing. And they should do it with more cities. We're doing it, as you know. And we're doing it in Memphis, Tennessee right now. And crime is down. We just sort of started a few weeks ago, but crime is down now.
Also, just quick side note. Remember how Trump told us on January 6th that he couldn't call in the National Guard and that it was up to Nancy Pelosi? But then how come he gets to call in the National Guard now? And he's like flexing about it. How does that work? Did something change? Shouldn't Mike Johnson be the one who gets to call in the National Guard? Not Donald Trump? That was his logic on January 6th, right? Remember that?
7%. And the governor of Louisiana called, great person. And he wanted us to help him, as you know, in a certain very nice part of Louisiana, and we have done that. It was a rough section, and we have gone down. I understand it's down to almost nothing already after 2.5 weeks. New Orleans, it's down to almost nothing, and we've only been there for 2.5 weeks. Can't imagine why governors wouldn't want us to help. We also helped, as you know, in Chicago. Then crime went down a little bit there. We did a very small help because we had no working ability with the governor. The governor was a disaster, and the mayor was a disaster. But it knocked down crime. But we're pulling out of there when they need us. We'll know. You'll know. You'll be writing about it. And likewise, Los Angeles, where we saved Los Angeles early on, where the head of the police department made a statement that if the federal government didn't come in, we would have lost Los Angeles. That's long after the fires. That's when they had the riots in Los Angeles. We did a great job. Got no credit for it whatsoever, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. We don't need the credit. But we'll be pulling out when they need us to call, or we'll go back if we have to. We'll go back. But we did a great job in various cities. But the place that we're very proud of is Washington, D.C., because it's our nation's capital. We took it from being a crime-ridden mess.
Why the fuck is bro even yapping about this right now? Isn't this the first press conference he did after the extraction, and he's talking about fucking... Okay.
To being one of the safest cities in the country.
Guard deployments?
But the gangs that they sent raped, tortured, and murdered American women and children.
Maduro is a dictator, by the way. Yeah, no one's debating that. I don't know if... Is there someone else in my room right now who I can't see who is arguing that Maduro isn't a dictator and that he isn't bad? That's actually not the question.
They were in all of the cities I mentioned, Tren de Aragua. And they were sent by Maduro to terrorize our people, and now Maduro will never again...
The reason we're mad is because just because another country has a dictator, going from that descriptive fact that this country has a dictator to the prescription that we therefore ought to invade this country with helicopters and do drone strikes and do regime change, that's a big leap. Explain how you make that leap instead of just hiding behind he was a dictator and he had a warrant.
Able to threaten an American citizen or
you don't think they could conjure up a warrant against any world leader they wanted?
From Venezuela, there will no longer be threats.
They pulled out an indictment against Letitia James and James Comey. There's no depth up their ass they're not willing to reach to pull out bullshit excuses and pretexts.
For years, I've highlighted the stories of those innocent Americans whose lives were so heartlessly robbed by this Venezuelan terrorist organization. Really one of the worst.
Just to be clear, you know another country that the heads of state organize crime, including in the United States? North Korea. North Korea makes a lot of money from running illegal drugs to the United States at the direct beck and call of the leader of North Korea. Do you guys want to go invade North Korea now? I'm sure some people would celebrate in the streets. Should we do that? Should we go and do regime change in Saudi Arabia? What ties did the Saudi Arabian government have with 9/11 and with funding certain terror groups? Should we also go... This is the same logic, which if we apply it consistently, let's do regime change in Saudi Arabia and North Korea too, right? To name a couple.
Say the worst. Americans like 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungari from Houston. Beautiful.
And sure, North Korea has nukes. Okay, you guys want to do Saudi Arabian regime change? Let me know.
Jocelyn Nungari, what happened to her?
I guarantee you could indict Saudi Arabian leadership on criminal charges in the U.S. I guarantee you there's some paper trail there. You guys want to do regime change there now? Is that the plan? Let me know.
They, as you know, they kidnapped, assaulted, and murdered by Tren de Aragua animals. They murdered Jocelyn and left her dead under the bridge. It was a bridge that will never be the same to so many.
Biden is not the one to get the warrant. That's not how warrants work.
People after seeing what happened. As I've said many times, Maduro
That's
regime...
how they work now. I think that MAGA doesn't understand that, like, typically, it's not the president that's giving an order to go and indict someone. That's not how that really is supposed to work. I know that's how Trump does it, so maybe you're extrapolating from that. It's not normal.
Emptied out their prisons, sent their worst and most violent monsters into the United States to steal American lives. And they came from mental institutions and insane asylums. They came from prisons and jails. The reason I say both, they sound similar. Actually, prisons, a little bit more hostile, a little bit tougher. A mental institution isn't as tough as an insane asylum, but we got them both. They sent from their mental institutions. They sent from their jails, prisons. They were drug dealers. They were drug kingpins.
Is he going to talk about what happened in Venezuela? What is he yapping about?
They sent everybody...
Also, AblePack, you can say stupid shit in the chat. Just don't spam or you're going to get muted, okay? Listen, my chat is open borders, free market. Say, oh, you silly live, Trump is winning and I'm a dumbass. Fine, say that. Just don't spam. It's like my only rule, okay?
Into the United States, but no longer. And we have now a border where nobody gets through. In addition, Venezuela unilaterally seized and
Venezuela
stole American oil, American assets, and American platforms, costing us billions and billions of dollars. They did this a while ago, but we never had a president that did anything about it. They took all of our property. It was our property. We built it.
Also, real quick, I have a question for all the MAGA people here. Do you support the FBI raid of Mar-a-Lago? Since they indicted Trump, they had a warrant for that, for the raid. Just a quick question for MAGA, if this is how you guys think. Is everyone here in favor of the raid on Mar-a-Lago for the classified documents case? Just checking. What were you guys saying about that when it happened?
And we never had a president that decided to do anything about it. Instead, they fought wars that were 10,000 miles away. We built Venezuela oil industry with American talent, drive, and skill, and the socialist regime stole it from us during those previous administrations, and they stole it through force. This constituted one of the largest thefts of American property in the history of our country.
And again, you can simultaneously acknowledge the failures of U.S. foreign policy in the past without trying to normalize what Trump did as just business as usual. This is not business as usual. I would bet every penny I have ever owned and will ever own that Kamala Harris would not have done this. Right? Like, yes, we should talk about U.S. foreign policy throughout history. Also, let's not normalize this by saying, oh, just business as usual, guys. No, this would not have happened if literally anyone else won the election. It just would not.
Largest theft of property in the history of our country. Massive oil infrastructure was taken like we were babies, so we didn't do anything about it. I would have done something about it. America will never allow foreign powers to rob our people or drive us back into and out of our own hemisphere. That's what they did. Furthermore, under the now deposed dictator Maduro, Venezuela was increasingly hosting foreign adversaries in our region and acquiring menacing offensive weapons that could threaten U.S. interests and lives. And they used those weapons last night. Potentially in league with the cartels operating along our border. All of these actions were in gross violation of the core principles of American foreign policy, dating back more than 2 centuries. And
wait a second, guys. This was foreign policy? I thought that he was just executing an arrest warrant. Isn't that the argument they used to get around the fact that this was foreign policy, as he's saying? No, this wasn't a foreign policy or like a military operation. We just had to protect the people that were arresting him because he was indicted, guys.
Not anymore. All the way back, it dated to the Monroe Doctrines. And the Monroe Doctrine is a big deal.
He's describing this as a military operation with geopolitical strategy behind it. But the legal justification they're using is that this wasn't foreign policy, and this wasn't something that you need Congress's input on. It's almost like they're fucking lying, and you guys eat it up. They could, like, shit directly into your mouth, and you'd be like, oh, yum.
But we've superseded it by a lot. By a real lot. They now call it the Monroe Document. I don't know. It's Monroe Doctrine.
No one has ever said that before. No one calls it that, bro. This is so corny. This is so corny, bro. This is how, like, a fucking Andrew Tate fan in middle school would talk about foreign policy. Mason had a really good tweet where he was like, this is how, like, middle schoolers envision being, like, an epic president who, like, blows stuff up and, like, I'm going to show him who's boss.
By a real lot. They now call it the Monroe Document. I don't know.
No one has ever called it the Monroe document. Like,
Monroe Doctrine. We sort of forgot about it. It was very important, but we forgot about it. We don't forget about it anymore.
Also, Donald's doctrine would have had a better ring. He's so fucking slow.
Under our new national security strategy, American dominance in the Western Hemisphere will never be questioned again. Won't happen. So just in concluding, for decades, other administrations have neglected or even...
By the way, also, everyone in favor of this, you're also in favor of China going into Taiwan and Russia going into Ukraine, right? Just making sure. And I guess you'd be in favor of Israel just fully annexing or doing regime change. I mean, they already pretty much own the Palestinian Authority, but I guess you're just an interventionist then, right? These people fooled us into thinking that, like, interventionism was like a dead ideology in mainstream American politics. Nope, it's alive and well. All these people that were wearing the No New Wars costume, they shedded it immediately.
Contributed to these growing security threats in the Western Hemisphere. Under the Trump administration, we are reasserting American power in a very powerful way in our home region. And our home region is very different than it was just a short while ago. The future will be, and we did this in my first term. We had great dominance in my first term, and we have far greater dominance right now. Everyone's coming back to us. The future will be determined by the ability to protect commerce and territory and resources that are core to national security. These are core to our national security. Just like tariffs are, they made our country rich, and they've made our national security stronger than ever before. But these are the iron laws that have always determined global power. And we're going to keep it that way. We will secure our borders. We will stop the terrorists. We will crash the cartels, and we will defend our...
He's a fucking liar. He pardons terrorists all the time. He's pardoned drug traffickers and drug kingpins. This is a lie.
citizens against all threats, foreign and domestic. Other presidents may have lacked the courage or whatever to defend America, but I will never allow terrorists and criminals to operate with impunity against the United States.
Yes, you will.
This extremely successful...
Yes, you will. You are a criminal who operated with impunity against the United States. Lest you guys forget, this man was indicted for defrauding the United States, for conspiracy against voting rights. Where are all the... Apparently everyone now loves indictments, and indictments are fucking made of gold. So, should he be in jail right now? Do indictments only matter when it's like a foreign head of state? But when it's like our own head of state, it doesn't matter anymore?
Never allow terrorists and criminals to operate with impunity against the United States. This extremely successful operation should serve as warning to anyone who would threaten American sovereignty or endanger American lives. Very importantly, the embargo on all Venezuelan oil remains in full...
Yeah, guys, Trump would never ever endanger American lives. That's why the plans to depose Maduro leaked to the Washington Post and the New York Times before the operation happened. How fucking insane is it that the New York Times and the Washington Post knew about this before Congress people knew about this? Because Trump probably planned this shit in Truth Social DMs.
In fact, the American...
And I'm not exaggerating, by the way. Trump communicates with his cabinet through DMs on Truth Social.
Armada remains poised, in position, and the United States retains all military options until United States demands have been fully met and fully satisfied. All political and military figures and...
Irrelevant? So? It's like these people are like, they love to be armchair foreign policy experts when they don't understand the idea of like operational security and integrity. They don't understand anything about anything. And I always say geopolitics is one of the most complicated subjects on the face of the earth. In all of human history, geopolitics has about 1 million shades of gray. But we live in an era of the fucking Dunning-Kruger effect on steroids, where the loudest people, the most confident people, are the ones who have the least interest in learning about this subject. Which is why, again, we're going to watch this, we're going to watch the Marco Rubio interview, and we're going to read the indictments. It's actually good to know information.
Venezuela should understand what happened to Maduro can happen to them, and it will happen to them if they aren't. Venezuela should understand what happened to Maduro can happen to them, and it will happen to them if they aren't just, fair, even to their people. The dictator...
Wait, I thought it was only if you indict someone for crimes, but it sounds like this is... He's applying pressure geopolitically on other countries to get concessions out of them. I thought this was about indictments, guys. Huh.
Terrorists, Maduro is finally gone in Venezuela. People are free. They're free again. It's been a long time for them, but they're free. America is a safer nation.
They're free? Isn't the Maduro regime still in place? It's just like they removed him and his wife, but all the same government apparatus is still there? Same armed forces, same military? And I'm not going to kick you out, Dakar, because you're embarrassing yourself, and when you yap shit in the chat, it's good for the algorithm, so knock yourself out.
It's a prouder nation this morning because it didn't allow this horrible person and this country that was doing very bad things to us. It didn't allow it to happen. And the Western Hemisphere is right now a much safer place to be.
I'm going to keep this playing. I can still hear it. I'm just going to plug in my laptop real quick.
So I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank General Raising Cane. He's fantastic. Man, I've worked with a lot of generals.
Raising Cane?
Whoa. I worked with somebody.
Raising Cane's reference? Holy shit. That's crazy.
Fantastic. Man, I've worked with a lot of generals. I worked with some I didn't like. I worked with some I didn't respect. I worked with some that just weren't good. But this guy is fantastic. I watched last night one of the most precise attacks on sovereignty. I mean, it was an attack for justice. And I'm very proud of him, and I'm very proud of our Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, who I'm going to ask to say a few words. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, can you explain how the U.S. will run Venezuela?
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Finally, a commander-in-chief the world respects and the American people deserve.
Did he just say this was an attack on sovereignty? Is he just admitting? Guys, I thought this was just an arrest warrant. Why is he calling it an attack on sovereignty? Hold on. There we go.
The president said, words can barely capture the bravery and the power and the precision of this historic operation. A massive joint military and law enforcement raid flawlessly executed by the greatest Americans our country has to offer. American warriors are second to none, the best in the world and the best of our country.
It's crazy how these people can feed you actual slop and you can watch them shit it out and you still show up with a fork and a knife and a fucking bib on.
What all of us witnessed last night was sheer guts and grit, gallantry and glory of the American warrior. I'm simply humbled by such men, and I tip my hat to our chairman, Dan Raising Kane, and all those Americans who stood watch last night. Our warriors are the elite of America, and again, President Trump has your back. No other country on planet Earth, and it's
like,
not...
A great sign that someone has literally zero self-respect and zero self-awareness is that they just parrot everything that Trump says. They just, like clockwork, they wait to see what he says and then just repeat it.
Even close could pull this kind of operation off. And no other president has ever shown this kind of leadership, courage, and resolve, the most powerful combination the world has ever seen. As the president said, our adversaries remain on notice. America can project our will anywhere, anytime. The coordination, the stealth, the lethality, the precision, the very long arm of American justice, all on full display in the middle of the night.
Wait, this is about imposing your will on other countries? Where are all the dumb fucks in the chat that are like, this was just we're just executing an arrest warrant. That's all this was. Even they don't really claim that. So, it's crazy how often Trump leaves his supporters out to dry. Like, they'll twist themselves into a pretzel to come up with some kind of justification, and then Trump just says the quiet part out loud. And then they're like, oh, we have permission to be okay with this? Okay, based. I don't have to pretend to defend it anymore.
The lethality, the precision, the very long arm of American justice, all on full display in the middle of the night. Nicolas Maduro had his chance, just like Iran had their chance, until they didn't, and until...
Like, does everyone here know one of the quote-unquote last straws that caused them to do this was that Nicolas Maduro was dancing and singing, and that it, like, hurt their feelings? Remember when everyone was like, I can't vote for a woman. Women are too emotional. They make emotional decisions. I don't know if Comrade Kamabla's going to go invade a country because someone hurt her feelings. They literally did this because Trump's ego was hurt by Maduro, like, doing those dances with the fucking dubstep about, like, no peace, or, sorry, no war, make peace. He got ass mad about that.
He didn't. He effed around, and he found out. President Trump is
epic. Cue the Ken Carson edits of Donald Trump. Oh, they fucked around and they found out. Yes. When did we start allowing children into the room when we have these conversations?
Deadly serious about stopping the flow of gangs and violence to our country. Deadly serious about stopping the flow of drugs.
I want Democrats to start doing this. Well, let's arrest the whole Trump administration, and then we're going to go on TV and say, listen, Donald Trump fucked around and he found out. Now he's going to prison.
Poison to our people. Deadly serious about getting back the oil that was stolen from us. And deadly serious about reestablishing American deterrence and dominance in the Western Hemisphere. This is about the safety, security, freedom, and prosperity of the American people. This is America first. This is peace through strength. And the United States War Department is proud to help deliver it. Welcome to 2026. And under President Trump, America is back. I'd like to welcome now our Chairman Raising Kane.
These people want so desperately to live in a fucking TikTok edit.
Let's give a few more details about the operation, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning. Last night, on the order of the President of the United States and in support of a request from the Department of Justice, as the President said, the United States military conducted an apprehension mission in Caracas, Venezuela, to bring to justice two indicted persons, Nicolas and Cecilia Maduro. This operation, known as Operation Absolute Resolve, was discreet, precise, and conducted during the darkest hours of January 2nd, and was the culmination of months of planning and rehearsal, an operation that, frankly, only the United States military could undertake. What I'd like to do this morning is talk to you through some of the preparation and the details without compromising any of our tactics, techniques, and procedures. There is always a chance that we'll be tasked to do this type of mission again. Our interagency work began months ago and built on decades of experience of integrating complex air, ground, space, and maritime operations. While the past 2 decades have honed the skills of our special operations forces, this particular mission required every component of our joint force, with soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians working in unison with our intelligence agency partners and law enforcement teammates in an unprecedented operation. We leveraged our unmatched intelligence capabilities and our years of experience in hunting terrorists, and we could not have done this mission without the incredible work by various intelligence agencies, including the CIA, NSA, and NGA. We watched, we waited, we prepared, we remained patient and professional. This mission was meticulously planned, drawing lessons from decades of missions over the last many years, many missions over these last many years. This was an audacious operation that only the United States could do. It required the utmost of precision and integration within our joint force. And the word integration does not explain the sheer complexity of such a mission. An extraction so precise, it involved more than 150 aircraft launching across the Western Hemisphere in close coordination, all coming together in time and place to layer effects for a single purpose: to get an interdiction force into downtown Caracas while maintaining the element of tactical surprise. Failure of one component of this well-oiled machine would have endangered the entire mission.
Guys, it was such a surprise. You know how when you're so good at keeping things secret, when your surprise is so surprising that the New York Times and the Washington Post figure out your plans before you do it? Surprise. It was a surprise to the actual fucking Congress people that have to sign off on something like this.
And failure is never an option for America's joint force. Those in the air over Caracas last night were willing to give their lives for those on the ground and in the helicopters. Let me talk a little bit about the preparation. After months of work by our intelligence teammates to find Maduro and understand how he moved, where he lived, where he traveled, what he ate, what he wore, what were his pets, in early December, our force was set pending a series of aligned events. Key was choosing the right day to minimize the potential for civilian harm and maximize the element of
Also, like, why are these fuckers, like, they're acting like Trump and Pete Hegseth were, like, strategic masterminds. Bro, it's... Does anyone think the United States in any situation struggles against Venezuela in a military conflict? That this is, like, some big feat that we've achieved?
surprise and minimize the harm to the indicted personnel, so as the president said, they could be brought to justice. And as the president said earlier today, weather in Venezuela is always a factor this time of the year. And over the weeks through Christmas and New Year's, the men and women of the United States military sat ready, patiently waiting for the right triggers to be met and the president to order us into action. Last night, the weather broke just enough, clearing a path that only the most skilled aviators in the world could maneuver through. Ocean.
Just by the way, these people endangered the lives of U.S. service members. The reason the New York Times and Washington Post didn't report on this when they found out was to protect the troops involved. Imagine if it wasn't the New York Times that found out. Imagine if Russia found out. Imagine if China found out. Imagine if Venezuela found out.
Mountain, low cloud ceilings, but when tasked with a mission, this organization does not quit. At 10:46 p.m. Eastern Time last night, the president ordered the United States military to move forward with this mission. He said to us, and we appreciate it, Mr. President, good luck and Godspeed. And those words were transmitted to the entire joint force. Over the course of the night, aircraft began launching from 20 different bases on land and sea across the Western Hemisphere. In total, more than 150 aircraft, bombers, fighters, intelligence, reconnaissance, surveillance, rotary wing were in the air last night. Thousands and thousands of hours of experience were airborne. Our youngest crew member was 20, and our oldest crew member was 49, and there's simply no match for American military might. As the night began, the helicopters took off with the extraction force, which included law enforcement officers, and began their flight into Venezuela at 100 feet above the water. As they approached Venezuelan shores, the United States began layering different effects provided by Spacecom, Cybercom, and other members of the interagency to create a pathway. Overhead, those forces were protected by aircraft from the United States Marines, the United States Navy, the United States Air Force, and the Air National Guard. The force included F-22s, F-35s, F-18s, EA-18s, E-2s, B-1 bombers, and other support aircraft, as well as numerous remotely piloted drones. As the force began to approach Caracas, the Joint Air Component began dismantling and disabling the air defense systems in Venezuela, employing weapons to ensure the safe passage of the helicopters into the target area. The goal of our air component is, was, and always will be to protect the helicopters and the ground force and get them to the target and get them home. As the force crossed the last point of high terrain where they'd been hiding in the clutter, we assessed that we had maintained totally the element of surprise. As the helicopter force ingressed towards the objective at low level, we arrived at Maduro's compound at 1:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 2:01 a.m. Caracas local time, and the apprehension force descended into Maduro's compound and moved with speed, precision, and discipline towards their objective and isolated the area to ensure the safety and security of the ground force while apprehending the indicted persons. On arrival into the target area, the helicopters came under fire and they replied with that fire with overwhelming force and self-defense. One of our aircraft was hit, but remained flyable, and as the president said earlier today, all of our aircraft came home, and that aircraft remained flyable during the rest of the mission. As the operation unfolded at the compound, our air and ground intelligence teams provided real-time updates to the ground force, ensuring those forces could safely navigate the complex environment without unnecessary risk. The force remained protected by overhead tactical aviation. Maduro and his wife, both indicted, gave up and were taken into custody by the Department of Justice, assisted by our incredible U.S. military with professionalism and precision, with no loss of U.S. life. After securing the indicted persons, the force began to prep for departure. Helicopters were called in to exfiltrate the extraction force, while
If people seriously don't understand what a stupid loophole it is to basically say, hold on, that we can do regime change as long as the head of state has been indicted by the DOJ. If you don't see that that's an obvious fake loophole bullshit pretext to just do regime change, talk about something else. Politics is not the arena for you. At least be honest about what this was and argue the actual thing that happened. The annoying thing about the debates about this right now is like people are debating stuff that's not actually the question. It's like I opened by saying the question is not, is Maduro a bad guy, and would Venezuela be better off if Maduro wasn't in charge of Venezuela? That's not the question. The question is, what is the role of the United States military on the world stage, and what is the role of the president in terms of acting unilaterally? Those are the questions.
Aircraft and remotely piloted aircraft provided overhead coverage and suppressive fire. There were multiple self-defense engagements as the force began to withdraw out of Venezuela. The force successfully exfiltrated and returned.
The funniest thing to me is how all the Groypers had to wait overnight because they needed to wait for Nick Fuentes to give them like marching orders on whether or not this was a good thing or not. So all you saw like initially was like the neocons and like the more MAGA people, and the Nick Fuentes supporters, they had to go into hibernation to wait for what Trump wants them to believe. And okay, this guy's getting muted for spamming. Probably not even a real person, Russian or Chinese bot farm, I'm guessing.
To their afloat launch bases, and the force was over the water at 3:29 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with indicted persons on board, and both Maduro and his wife were embarked aboard the USS Iwo Jima. In closing, what we've witnessed today is a powerful demonstration of America's joint force. We think, we develop, we train, we rehearse, we debrief, we rehearse again and again, not to get it right, but to ensure that we cannot get it wrong. Our jobs are to integrate combat power so when the order comes, we can deliver overwhelming force at the time and the place of our choosing against any foe anywhere in the world. I am immensely proud today of our joint force and filled with gratitude to represent them here today. There is simply no mission too difficult for these incredible professionals and the families that stand by them and support them. As we stand here this morning, our forces remain in the region at a high state of readiness, prepared to project power, defend themselves, and our interests in the region. This operation is a testament to the dedication and unwavering commitment to justice and our resolve to hold accountable those who threaten peace and stability. In closing, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to the brave men and women who executed.
That's not just us saying it. Nicolas Maduro was indicted.
Oh, okay. Now the actual guy whose idea this was is going to speak. The guy who's been having wet dreams about this for probably over a decade, he's finally about to speak.
Well, I don't have much to add to what you've heard now, other than the following points. Nicolas Maduro was indicted in 2020 in the United States. He is not the legitimate president of Venezuela. That's not just us saying it. The first Trump administration, the Biden administration, the second Trump administration, none of those three recognize him. He's not recognized by the European Union and multiple countries around the world. He is a fugitive of American justice with a $50 million reward, which I guess we say $50 million. And
there are many heads of state around the country who rig elections and steal elections and oppress their people and are horrible leaders. Should we also get them?
Make sure.
Yeah, exactly. But
Don't let anybody claim it. Nobody deserves it.
Union in multiple countries around the world. He is a fugitive of American justice with a $50 million reward, which I guess we say $50 million. And
You should make sure.
Yeah, exactly. But
Don't let anybody claim it. Nobody deserves it but us.
But I want to be clear about one thing. Nicolas Maduro had multiple opportunities to avoid this. He was provided multiple very, very, very generous offers and chose instead to act like a wild man, chose instead to play around. And the result is what we saw tonight. The other message here is the following. You have a guy, like many people around the world, they like to play games. You have a guy who decides he's going to invite Iran into his country, is going to, do the confiscation of American oil companies, is going to flood our country with gang members, is going to take Americans prisoner and try to hold them for hostage and trade them like he was able to do with the Biden administration. Basically likes to play games all this time and thinks nothing's going to happen. And I hope what people now understand is that we have a president. The 47th president of the United States is not a game player. When he tells you that he's going to do something, when he tells you he's going to address a problem, he means it. He actions it. I can tell you, I've watched this process now for 14, 15 years, been around it. Everybody talks. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. When I get there,
It's all just shows of force to make himself look stronger. And I wonder why Trump right now would want to look stronger. I wonder if there's like 5 million pages of something called the Epstein Files. Like, does anyone notice that when Trump's political career is at its lowest, when his political capital is waning in front of our eyes and he's like starting to lose his grip on seeming like he has any kind of authority even within his own party, that's when he starts lashing out, calling for the arrest of political opponents, trying to send National Guard into other cities, doing regime change? He wants to reframe the conversation away from Trump is fucked in this scandal to Trump is strong, big, tough guy with big explosions.
do this, we're going to take... This is a president of action. Like, I don't understand yet how they haven't figured this out. And now, if you don't know, now you know. Because this is the way it's going to play out. And I think people need to understand that this is not a president that just talks and does letters and press conferences. And, you know, if he says he's serious about something, he means it. And this is something that was a direct threat to the...
This is not just some silly, weak president who follows checks and balances and follows the law and consults experts. This is a president who does whatever the fuck he feels like doing. That's supposed to... Is that supposed to be a compliment?
National interest of the United States, and the president addressed it. There's a president of peace, by the way. I told you what I just said earlier. This guy had multiple opportunities to find his way somewhere else and figure out another. He could have been living somewhere else right now, very happy, but instead he wanted to play big boy. And so now, you know, he's got other sets of problems on his hands. And but I think that the message here should be for the world.
Dakari says he's that guy. Dude, just zip it up when you're done, okay?
Look, the president doesn't go out looking for people to
I
pick
don't want you leaving a mess in my chat, so just clean up after yourself.
fights with. He's not generally wants to get along with everybody. We'll talk and meet with anybody, but don't play games. Don't play games with this president's in office because it's not going to turn out well. And so I hope that I guess that lesson was learned last night, and we hope it'll be instructive moving forward.
Mr. President. Mr. President. Mr. President. Mr. President. Mr. President.
You said that the U.S. is going to run Venezuela, so who's in power right now?
Well, we're going to be running it with a group, and we're going to make sure it's run properly. We're going to rebuild the oil infrastructure, which will cost billions of dollars.
What does running Venezuela have to do with the indictment against Maduro? Everyone's saying, listen, we had to execute this arrest warrant. What would running Venezuela have to do with the arrest warrant? Can someone explain that logic to me? If the DOJ gets an arrest warrant against someone like living in an apartment complex and they go in and they arrest him, do they get to run the apartment complex afterwards? Is that like typical DOJ policy, or?
It'll be paid for by the oil companies directly. They will be reimbursed for what they're doing.
Because I'm hearing a lot of talk about economic interest and geopolitical interest, but then the legal justification is nothing related to that. It's that this is just about the DOJ executing an arrest warrant. It's so crazy how just unquestioningly you accept. Yes, Trump, give it to me. Whatever you say, Dad. Like whatever you say.
It's going to be paid, and we're going to get the oil flowing the way it should be. As you know, it was just a minor flow. It was actually a minor flow for what they have. But we're going to run it properly, and we're going to make sure the people of Venezuela are taken care of. We're going to make sure the people that were forced out of Venezuela by...
He doesn't want it to fall back into the wrong hands. Oh, so the United States gets to decide that for every other country now? Okay.
This thug are also taken care of.
Mr. President. Mr. President. Mr. President.
Does the U.S. running the country mean that U.S. troops will
As
be...
long as we're going after criminal heads of state, I'm seeing one on my screen right now. Does the DOJ get to... Do we get to raid Mar-a-Lago and then they take over Mar-a-Lago or something? Can we do that?
on the ground? How will that work?
Well, you know, they always say boots on the ground. Oh, so we're not afraid of boots on the ground if we have to have. We had boots on the ground last night at a very high level, actually. We're not afraid of it. We don't mind saying it. But we're going to make sure that that country is run properly.
This guy doesn't let you make any... It's like everyone who's so desperate to say, no, this wasn't actually a military operation. This was just the DOJ executing an arrest warrant for someone who was indicted. And there's a legal justification. And Trump's just like, we're taking the oil. We're going to run shit down. We're going to run everything.
Not doing this in vain. This is not. This is a very dangerous attack. This is an attack that could have gone very, very badly. Could have gone very badly. We could have lost a lot of people last night.
You know why it didn't go badly? Not because you guys are some fucking heroes, because the New York Times and Washington Post didn't leak your plans. Can you guys imagine how embarrassing this would have gone if the New York Times and Washington Post did report on it like 40 minutes or an hour before it happened?
A lot of dignity. We could have lost a lot of equipment. The equipment is less important, but we could have lost a lot. And we're going to make sure that this is proper. We're there now. We're ready to go again if we have to. We're going to run the country right. It's going to be run very...
Dakari says, if. Maybe try taking it out of your mouth before you say a full sentence. It might make it hard for you to speak.
judiciously, very fairly. It's going to make a lot of money. We're going to give money to the people. We're going to reimburse people that were taken advantage of. We're going to take care of everybody. It's very important. We couldn't let them get away with it. You know, they stole our oil. We built that whole industry there, and they just took it over like we were nothing. And we had a president that decided not to do anything about it. So we did something about it. We're late, but we did something about it. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, can you explain the exact mechanism by which you're going to run the country? Are you going to designate a U.S. official to coordinate?
Yes, it's all being done right now. We're designating people. We're talking to people. We're designating.
It went good because it was planned good. Was it good planning for it to leak to the press before it happened? That's good planning? To have the media know about something before Congress knows about it? Huh. Never put this guy in charge of anything. Holy shit.
Various people, and we're going to let you know who those people are.
Mr. President.
What's the group you mentioned that would run Venezuela?
Well, it's largely going to be, for a period of time, the people that are standing right behind me. We're going to be running it. We're going to be bringing it back. It's a dead, you know, I talk about a dead country. A year and a half ago, we were a dead country. Now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're a country doing better than any country anywhere in the world. And it required leadership. Venezuela has a lot of bad people in there, a lot of bad people that shouldn't be leading. We're not going to take a chance that one of those people take over for Maduro. So you can look at, and others, we have fantastic people, including people in the military. So we're going to have a group of people running it until such time as it can be put back on track, make a lot of money for the people, and give people a great way of life, and also reimbursement for people in our country that were forced out of Venezuela.
Mr. President,
would be.
You said earlier today that you weren't going to back Machado to come back and be the opposition leader in your Fox and Friends interview. And then you also mentioned the vice president of Venezuela. Are you going to work with the vice president of Venezuela, or how do you foresee the relationship
Well, I
going?
understand she was just sworn in, but she was, as you know, picked by Maduro. So Marco's working on that directly. He just had a conversation with her, and she's essentially willing to do what we think is necessary to make Venezuela great again. Very simple.
Mr. President, Colombian President Gustavo Petro, a couple weeks ago, he said he's got to watch his ass. And today he said he's not concerned about anything happening to him in the aftermath of this operation. So just what your message is
Well,
about
he has
that.
cocaine mills. He has factories where he makes cocaine. And yeah, I think I stick by my first statement. He's making cocaine. They're sending it into the United States. So he does have to watch his ass.
Mr. President,
did you notify any members of Congress in advance?
And Marco, do you want to talk about that? Because you were involved in it.
Sure. We call members of Congress immediately after. This was not the kind of mission that you can do congressional notification on. It was a trigger-based mission in which conditions had to be met night after night. We watched and monitored that for a number of days.
It's not the kind of mission where Congress can be notified. But apparently OPSEC was super important here, but not good enough that they could hide it from the fucking New York Times. Okay.
You can do congressional notification on. It was a trigger-based mission in which conditions had to be met night after night. We watched and monitored that for a number of days. So it's just simply not the kind of mission you can call people and say, hey, we may do this at some point in the next 15 days. But it's largely a law enforcement function. Remember, at the end of the day, at its core, this was an arrest of two indicted fugitives of American justice.
Why? Why can't they say we might do this in the next few weeks? Like even at least to like certain congressional committees that have relevant oversight here. They didn't even try.
And the Department of War supported the Department of Justice in that job. Now, there are broader policy implications here, but it's just not the kind of mission that you can pre-notify because it endangers the mission.
Okay, so then he's admitting that they endangered the mission by letting it leak to the media. By Marco Rubio's own logic, the Trump administration endangered the mission and the lives of U.S. service members by letting it leak to the media.
Congress has a tendency to leak. This would not be good. If they leaked, General...
Guys, it would be so bad if it leaked. You leaked it.
I think it would have been maybe a very different result. But I have to say, they knew we were coming at some point, you know. A lot of ships out there, they sort of knew we were coming. But Congress will leak, and we don't want to leak.
Mr. President,
You were one of the only people to watch this all play out live. What was Maduro doing when the U.S. forces entered what I assume would be his home? And also, was there any point where the U.S. was considering if Maduro pushed back or resisted killing Maduro?
It could have happened. It could have happened. He was trying to get into a safe place. You know what a safe place is, all steel. And he wasn't able to make it to the door because our guys were so fast. They went through the opposition so fast. And there was a lot of opposition. You know, people were wondering, do we get him by surprise? Sort of surprise, but they were waiting for something. It was a lot of opposition. There was a lot of gunfire. You saw some of it today. But he was trying to get to a safe place, which wasn't safe because we would have had the door blown up in about 47 seconds, they say on average, regardless of how thick the steel was. It was a very thick door. It was a very heavy door, but he was unable to get to that door. He made it to the door. He was unable to close it.
So where's Maduro going?
Go ahead.
That's tough, though. That's actually crazy. Bro is running. He's like this close to getting the door closed, and like, nah, we got your ass. Damn.
Where is Maduro going to be in the time being right now? Do you know his exact
Well,
whereabouts?
eventually, ultimately, in the near future, he's going to be brought to New York.
And where is he going to be held? Where is he going to be held in New York? Do you know?
That's going to be up to the officials that do these.
Mamdani, you know what you have to do. What did they say when they got Charlie? You just created a million Nicolas Maduros.
Mr. President, the U.S. has something of a mixed track record of ousting dictators without necessarily a plan for what comes afterwards. Did that weigh on your decision?
Well, that's why we had different presidents, but with me, that's not true. With me, we've had a perfect track record of winning. We win a lot, and we win. If you look at Soleimani, you look at al-Baghdadi, you look at the Midnight Hammer. Midnight Hammer was incredible. Right now, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. We have essentially peace in the Middle East because of that. If we weren't successful with Midnight Hammer, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. So, with me, you've had a lot of victory. You've had only victories. You've had no losses. Yeah.
Mr. President, can you? How long do you expect the U.S. to run Venezuela, and how soon do you want Venezuelan people to hold elections?
So, I'd like to do it quickly, but it takes a period of time. We're rebuilding. We have to rebuild their whole infrastructure. The infrastructure is rotted. It's actually very dangerous. It's blow-up territory. Oil is very dangerous. It's a very dangerous thing to take out of the ground. It can kill a lot of people. It has killed a lot of people doing just that. The infrastructure is...
I was glossing over the indictment earlier, and it really... I don't know if I'm missing like a superseding indictment or like an initial indictment that has more information. It seemed kind of weak, but we're going to look into that. I think we get the idea here. Do we want to finish? I kind of want to watch this.
Joining me now is Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Secretary Rubio... Joining me now is Secretary of State...
I know he did one with Stephanopoulos. Where is that one? I saw a clip of that on TikTok. I want to watch the full interview.
We begin today with Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
We're joined now by the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. Mr. Secretary, thank you for joining us this morning. President Trump was pretty clear yesterday. He said the United States is going to run Venezuela. Under what legal authority?
Good question. Good question.
Well, first of all, what's going to happen here is that we have a quarantine on their oil. That means their economy will not be able to move forward until the conditions that are in the national interest of the United...
He said under what legal authority are you doing this, not what are you doing. Does everyone understand the distinction between what are you doing and who gave you permission to do that?
States and the interests of the Venezuelan people are met, and that's what we intend to do. So that leverage remains, that leverage is ongoing, and we expect that it's going to lead to results here. We're hopeful that it does, positive results for the people of Venezuela, but ultimately, most importantly for us, in the national interest of the United States. We will no longer have, hopefully, as we move forward here, we'll set the conditions so that we no longer have in our hemisphere a Venezuela that's the crossroads for many of our adversaries around the world, including Iran and Hezbollah, is no longer sending us drug gangs, is no longer sending us drug boats, is no longer a narco-trafficking paradise for all those drugs coming out of Colombia to go in through the Caribbean and towards the United States. And obviously, we want a better future for the people of Venezuela. We want them to have an oil industry where the wealth goes to the people, not to a handful of corrupt individuals and stolen by pirates all over the world. That's what we're working towards, and we intend to use the leverage we have to help achieve that.
Let me ask the question again.
Bro, you are the handful of corrupt individuals.
The legal authority for the United States to be running Venezuela.
Well, I explained to you what our goals are and how we're going to use the leverage to make it happen. As far as what our legal authority is on the quarantine, I'm very simple. We have court orders. These are sanctioned boats, and we get orders from courts to go after and seize these sanctions. So that's, I don't know, is a court not a legal authority?
Hold on. As Trump said himself in the press conference we just watched, this was not just about getting Maduro to face charges or executing an arrest warrant. Because then why are they going to be running Venezuela afterwards? What kind of arrest warrant gives you the ability to run a country afterwards and pick and choose who the political leaders are? And start like organizing your navy on the waters of that country. Where's the legal authority for that?
Venezuela right now?
Well, I've explained once again, these are sanctioned boats, and we get orders from courts to go after and seize these sanctions. So that's, I don't know, is a court not a legal authority?
So is the United States running Venezuela right now?
Well, I've explained once again, I'll do it one more time. What we are running is the direction that this is going to move moving forward, and that is we have leverage. This leverage we are using, and we intend to use. We started using already. You can see where they are running out of storage capacity.
Leverage in what arena? Geopolitics and armed warfare, where Congress should have input? Or at least information, if not input?
In a few weeks, they're going to have to start pumping oil unless they make changes. And that leverage that we have with the armada of boats that are currently positioned allow us to seize any sanctioned boats coming into or out of Venezuela, loaded with oil or on its way in to pick up oil. And we can pick and choose which ones we go after. We have court orders.
That's a different question than running the country and choosing who is the political leadership within the country.
That will continue to be in place until the people who have control over the levers of power in that country make changes that are not just in the interest of the people of Venezuela, but are in the interest of the United States and the things that we care about. That's what we intend to do. The legal authority is the court orders that we have.
No. He's jumping from the legal authority, which is narrow, to a much broader topic, which is the United States now gets to have political influence over Venezuela directly. Like, this is now like a vassal state of the U.S.
President was asked yesterday who will be running Venezuela. He said it was you. He said it was the defense secretary. He said it was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Are you running Venezuela right now?
George, I've explained again that the leverage that we have here is the leverage of the quarantine. So that is a Department of War operation conducting.
Why aren't you answering the question?
In some cases, law enforcement functions with the Coast Guard on the seizure of these boats. I'm obviously very intricately involved in these policies. And by the way, very intricately involved in moving forward. And what we hope to see some of these changes being addressed. Unfortunately, the person that was there before, who was not the legitimate president of the country, was someone we could not work with. Was someone that we could not, he had already suckered the Biden administration a couple years ago on a deal he didn't keep. And this is someone we simply couldn't work with. We are hopeful that there are people in place now. We're going to find out. The proof will be in what they do or fail to do. That will start making some of these changes that will ultimately lead to a Venezuela that looks substantially and dramatically different from what's been in place for 15 years. But our number one objective is America. We care about Venezuela. We want it to do well moving forward. But our number one objective here is America. No more drugs. No more trained out agua gangs coming our direction, and no more an area of the country in our hemisphere that becomes a crossroads.
Please, Mr. George Stephanopoulos, make him answer the question.
Every single adversary we have around the world, Hezbollah, Iran, all of them, have turned it into their playground. That can and will not continue under this administration.
Like, I'm sorry. This is not like, if you go back 10 years from today and you ask the average person who has any understanding of foreign policy, even like a layman's understanding, can the president unilaterally remove a sitting head of state without even notifying Congress? There's like no sane person that would say yes. You can try to interpret the law in bad faith and reverse engineer, what the fuck? Reverse engineer excuses for, what the fuck is this? You know what? I won't kill it. It's fine.
Now that the Vice President, Delcy Rodriguez, is now the legitimate president of Venezuela?
Well, this is not about the legitimate president. We don't believe that this regime in place is legitimate via an election, and that's not just us. It's 60-something countries around the world that have taken that view as well, including the European Union. But we understand that there are people in Venezuela today who are the ones that can actually make changes. So, for example, when we want to send in the migrant flights, even though we never recognized the Maduro regime as legitimate, we had to deal with the authorities that control the airport. We had to deal with the people who had guns and the people who had control of the airport.
Whether or not someone is legitimate is a different question than are they the head of state? That's just a descriptive question, who is the head of state?
We had to deal with them to achieve these objectives. That's different from recognizing their legitimacy. Ultimately, legitimacy for their system of government will come about through a period of transition and real elections, which they have not had. And by the way,
the bottom line here is this. Everyone who supports this wants an authoritarian leader. They want someone who can unilaterally command armed forces without telling any of our allies or anyone in Congress, consulting them, informing them in any regard. They think that one guy has absolute power.
Maduro is not just an indicted drug trafficker. He's illegitimate president. He was not the head of state. And I continue to see these media reports referring to him as President Maduro and the head of state. He was not the head of state. He was not the head. And it's not just us saying it. The Biden administration said it. Reports referring to him as President Maduro and the head of state. He was not the head of state. He was not the head. And it's not
Who was in charge of Venezuela? I agree, Maduro, horrible dictator guy, like fuck him. Okay, who was in charge of Venezuela though? This is such a weird, dishonest framing.
Us saying it, the Biden administration said it, and so did 60-something countries around the world hold that position.
The president said that you spoke with the Vice President Rodriguez and that she promised to do whatever the United States needs. But in her televised statement, she was pretty defiant, saying that Maduro is still president and that the Venezuelan people will no longer be slaves or the colony of an empire. That's a quote. What exactly did she say to you, and what comes next?
Well, we're not going to judge moving forward based simply on what's said in press conferences. We want to see action here at the end of the day. Rhetoric is one thing. You see rhetoric for a lot of different reasons. There's a lot of different reasons why people go on TV and say certain things in these countries, especially 15 hours or 12 hours after the person who used to be in charge of the regime is now in handcuffs and on his way to New York. So what I will say is moving forward, it's very simple. We're not going to be reactive here to statements at press conferences or what people say in a certain interview or what some media post somewhere. What we are going to react to is very simple. What do you do? Not what you're saying publicly. What happens? What happens next? Do the drugs stop coming? Are the changes made? Is Iran expelled? Is Hezbollah no longer able and Iran no longer able to operate against our interests from Venezuela? Does the migration pattern stop? The drug trafficking boats end? Do you deal with the ELN
also,
and the FARC?
Which dumbass said that Maduro was first indicted under Biden? Biden was not president in 2020. Unless was there like a superseding or like a new indictment during Biden's term that I've missed? Who said that earlier? That this was done under Biden? Either am I missing an indictment or were they just fucking lying? From at least in or about 1999 up to and including in or about 2020, Nicolas Maduro, Diosdado. Okay, that's a lot. And okay, defendants participated in a corrupt and violent narco-terrorism conspiracy between the Venezuelan cartel de los Soles and Fuerzas Armadas Revolucionarias de Colombia. From at least in or about 1999 up to and including in or around 2020, the FARC was a terrorist organization led at times by Luciano Marin Arango and Jesus. I should say This is really long. I'm sorry. The defendants, among others, they became one of the largest producers of cocaine in the world and perpetrated acts of violence against United States nationals and property from at least in or about 1999 up to and including 2020. Hold on, where are the actual? Okay, Cartel de Sons was a Venezuelan drug trafficking organization comprised of high-ranking Venezuelan officials who abused the Venezuelan people. Oh, thank you so much to Laura for the $10 super chat on YouTube. Can we get some W's for Laura in the chat? And to be fair, this is the overview, so I want to read the specific counts as we get down into this. Parts of okay, where are we? Comprised of high-ranking Venezuelan officials who abused the Venezuelan people and corrupted the legitimate institutions of Venezuela, including parts of the military, intelligence apparatus, legislature, and judiciary, to facilitate the importation of tons of cocaine into the United States. The name of the Cartel de los Soles is a reference to the sun insignias affixed to the uniforms of high-ranking Venezuelan military officials who are members of the cartel. Nicolas Maduro, the defendant, helped manage and ultimately lead the Cartel de los Soles. As he gained power in Venezuela under the leadership of Maduro and others, the cartel sought not only to enrich its members and enhance their power, but also to, quote, flood the United States with cocaine. Where are they quoting this from? There's no, like, footnote or anything. I don't know where that quote is from. Inflict the drug's harmful and addictive effects on users in this country. By the way, this sounds a lot like the indictment against the ex-president of Honduras, who Trump pardoned. So how are we rectifying those contradictory things? Just gonna plug our ears and stick our heads in the sand, apparently. Thus, whereas most drug trafficking organizations in South and Central America have sought to recede from their roles in importing narcotics into the U.S. in an effort to avoid U.S. prosecution, the Cartel de los Soles, under the leadership of Maduro and others, prioritize using cocaine as a weapon against America and importing as much cocaine as possible into the United States. While pursuing these and other objectives, Maduro, the defendant, negotiated multi-ton shipments. This exact same indictment could be written up for Kim Jong-un and fucking Kim Jong-nam. Not Kim Jong-nam. Who is his dad? Kim Jong-il. But okay. Coordinate foreign affairs with Honduras and other countries to facilitate large-scale drug trafficking. Do we have I need some kind of reference to evidence here. How long is this? 28 pages? Hold on, let's see. Or maybe we should look at the recent indictment, right? Is this the more recent one? Because am I tripping? Did they release a superseding indictment? Maybe I'm thinking of a different case. For over 20, is this a different document than what we were just reading, I think? Okay, this is a different document. For over 25 years, leaders of Venezuela have abused their positions of public trust and corrupted once legitimate institutions to import tons of cocaine into the United States. Nicolas Maduro, defendant, is at the forefront of that corruption and is pardoned with his co-conspirators to use his illegally obtained authority and institutions he corroded to transport thousands of tons of cocaine to the U.S. Since his early days in Venezuelan government, like here, I'd want to see evidence of him like giving direct orders to do this. As a member of Venezuela's National Assembly, Maduro Moros has moved loads of cocaine under the protection of Venezuelan law enforcement as Venezuela's Minister of Foreign Affairs. Maduro provided Venezuelan diplomatic passports to drug traffickers. Okay, and facilitated This is literally what North Korea does when they move like illegal drugs and weapons. This is like exactly what they do. Are we indicting them now too? As Venezuela's president and now de facto ruler, Maduro allows cocaine field operation to flourish for his own benefit, for the benefit of members of his ruling regime, and for the benefit of his family members. The defendant now sits atop a corrupt, illegitimate government that for decades has leveraged government power to protect and promote illegal activity, including drug trafficking. That drug trafficking has enriched and entrenched Venezuela's political and military elite, including the Minister of the Interior, Justice and Peace. The defendant and former Minister of the Interior, the defendant The massive scale drug trafficking has also concentrated power and wealth in the hands of Maduro's family, including his wife, the purported First Lady of Venezuela, and Maduro's son. The cycle of narcotics-based corruption lines the pockets of Venezuelan officials and their families. I'm looking for something of substance here. Hold on. Okay, here we have the defendants. What are the narco-terrorist organizations working in partnership with the defendants? I want to read the subheadings here. Defendants corrupt drug trafficking connections to narco-terrorist groups. Okay, let's read this. Maduro, like former President Chavez before him, participated in, perpetuates, and protects a culture of corruption. I don't know how much can you bring up the state of affairs of a foreign state in an indictment? Like, I'm genuinely asking, like, this is weird that you can use foreign corruption in a domestic indictment. The profit of that illegal activity flowed to corrupt rank-and-file civilian, military, and intelligence officials who operate in a patronage system run by those at the top, referred to as the Cartel de los Soles or Cartel of Suns, reference the sun insignia affixed to the uniforms of high-ranking Venezuelan military officials. Venezuela sits in a geographically valuable location for drug traffickers with northern access to the Caribbean Sea via several large ports and western access to the mountains regions of Colombia, where coca is grown and turned into the vast majority of the world's cocaine supply in jungle laboratories. Starting in or about 1999, Venezuela became a safe haven for drug trafficking. Like, what I'm seeing so far is Maduro allowed this to take place to enrich himself. I'm looking for the specific... Like, how is he specifically being charged with this? Okay, here we go. This is what I was looking for. Overt acts in furtherance of the defendant's drug trafficking and narcoterrorism conspiracies. Okay. The defendants, together and with others, engaged in a relentless campaign of cocaine trafficking throughout the time period charged in the superseding indictment. Okay, so this is a superseding indictment. Resulting in the distribution of thousands of tons of cocaine in the United States. I'm, like, genuinely, like... Because, yeah, I've heard that sometimes drug traffickers will pass through Venezuela. I haven't heard about this, like, epidemic of jungle laboratories that are creating, like, tons of cocaine in Venezuela. Am I misreading something? Hold on. Okay, distribution I would understand. Okay, let me just reread this. Logistical support for the transport of cocaine through Venezuela with knowledge that their drug trafficking partners have moved the cocaine to North United States. Conduct occurred regularly and repeatedly throughout the time period charged below are certain examples of acts engaged in by the defendants. Okay, thank you. Specifics. Between 2006 and 2008, while acting as Venezuela's Minister of Foreign Affairs. Guys, I thought that things that happened in, like, 2006, like the Stormy Daniels stuff and the... like Access Hollywood stuff and Trump, like, perving on people. I was told that, like, stuff that happened in 2006 isn't relevant anymore. I've just heard that line a lot from MAGA. Like, oh, that was ages ago, but it's in the indictment. Newer drug traffickers, in order to assist traffickers seeking to move drug proceeds from Mexico to Venezuela under diplomatic cover, when the drug traffickers needed to move drug proceeds. Am I tripping? Did we not just read somewhere that they were producing tons in jungle laboratories? Or were those jungle laboratories in other places? Okay, wait. Oh, okay, Colombia. My bad. Amount of fusions of Colombia or coca. Okay. Fair enough. Here we go. 2006, 2008, while acting as Venezuela's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Maduro Moros knew. Okay. These occasions, Maduro Moros called the Venezuelan embassy in Mexico to advise that a diplomatic mission would be arriving by private plane. Then, while the traffickers met with the Venezuelan ambassador to Mexico under the auspices of a diplomatic mission from Maduro, plane was loaded with the drug proceeds. Plane would then return to Venezuela under diplomatic cover. Approximately 2007, defendant attended a meeting in which Flores accepted hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes to broker a meeting between large-scale drug trafficker and director of Venezuela's National Anti-Drug Office. Trafficker later arranged to pay a monthly bribe in addition to approximately $100,000 for each flight. that was transporting cocaine to ensure the flight's safe passage, a portion of which was then paid to Flores de Maduro in about 2015. This is talking about like basically transporting and giving diplomatic cover. Hold on, I haven't looked at the chat in a second. I feel like people don't care about legality or any macro complex things like internet. Yeah, this is like, I'm sure that this stuff happened. Like Maduro is definitely involved in criminal schemes. Like I don't know if anyone would dispute that, but the question of whether you can just depose a sitting head of state because there's an indictment against them is a pretty important question, because there's many heads of state that you could get these types of indictments against, including Saudi Arabia, North Korea, Colombia, Mexico, maybe. Maduro's worked together to traffic cocaine, much of which had been previously seized by Venezuelan law enforcement with the assistance of armed military escorts. During this time, Maduro maintained their own groups of state-sponsored gangs known as Colectivos to facilitate and protect their trafficking operation. Hold on. 2006, Venezuelan officials dispatched more than 5.5 tons of cocaine from Venezuela to Mexico on a DC-9 jet. Then Director of Venezuela's military intelligence agency, Hugo Armando Caraval Barrios El Pollo, who in June 2025 pled guilty in this district to narco-terrorism narcotics because they want the oil. They found the loop based on Narita's indictment. They copied the plan. Yeah, that was Bush Sr., right? Or am I mixing that up? Was that Bush Sr. that last did that? Okay, so what I'm getting from this, I want to see if there's like other... Wait, I want to see the machine... Okay, so I'm understanding the trafficking charges, which is that he allowed planes to go into Mexico under diplomatic cover that were carrying substances that I'm assuming came into the United States from the U.S.-Mexico border. That I understand. Where are the machine gun charges? Okay, intentionally and knowingly combined, conspired and confederated and agreed together and with each other to violate Title 21, U.S. States Code, Section 960A. Okay. Whoever engages in conduct that would be punishable under Section 841A of this title. I hate how self-fucking referential these types of laws are. It shall be unlawful for any person knowingly or intentionally... Oh my god, why is my thing frozen? How long was this the case? Here we go. To manufacture, distribute, or dispense or possess with intent to manufacture, distribute, or dispense a controlled substance, or to create, distribute, or dispense or possess with intent to distribute or dispense a counterfeit substance. North Korea does that a lot as well, by the way. I'm pretty sure North Korea is like the biggest counterfeiter of U.S. currency. Let me... Okay, yeah, North Korea is widely considered the world's most significant producer of high-quality counterfeit U.S. currency. So, like, the question is not, do foreign heads of state engage in activity that's criminal under U.S. law that affects America? The question is, how do you address that? That's, like, the actual important question here, which no one wants to talk about. Okay, so then this is what it's referencing here. Whoever engaged in conduct that would be punishable under this, if committed within the jurisdiction of the United States, or attempts or conspires to do so, knowing or intending to provide directly or indirectly anything of what value? What is this? What does this mean? Pecuniary value refers to anything that has monetary worth or can be measured in money. Okay. To any person or organization that is engaged or engages in terrorist activity as defined in this. In which thing? A3B. What? Section 1182A 3B. 1182A 3. Okay, terrorist activities in general. Any alien who has engaged in terrorist activity, consular officer, the Attorney General, or Secretary of Homeland Security knows or has reasonable ground to believe is engaged in or is likely to engage after entry in any terrorist activity, as defined in clause. Where's clause 4? Bro, the U.S. code is so fucking complicated. Oh my god. Do we have a definition of terrorist activity here? But if this is boring, by the way, we can switch to something. I'm like genuinely trying to figure out the details of this. But we can... Y'all can let me know in the chat if y'all are trying to do something else tonight. I'm just curious about this, because again, this all happened as I was like on vacation. Terrorist activity. Security and any alien... Terrorism involves violent acts or threats against people, property, intended to intimidate or coerce. Here's my question, right? Like, I feel like there's a certain type of intent that's needed with terrorism charges. Because I can understand the trafficking charges. The terrorism charges to me are like a little bit confusing. Requires specific intent for an act to be classified as terrorism. The conduct must not only be illegal and dangerous to human life, which this obviously is, but also appear to be intended to achieve one of three specific goals: intimidate or coerce a civilian population, influence the policy of a government through intimidation or coercion, or affect the conduct of a government through mass destruction. Like, genuine question, and there's so much to read here. Where is the intent that he did this trafficking, not just to like enrich himself, but to like do terrorism in America? Like, I can even understand that narco-terrorism could be a charge that exists. But this seems a lot more like it would be a trafficking, or like a, what is RICO for again? I'll just ask here. By the way, another question. Do people mind when I use like Google AI overview? Because I found it to be pretty reliable, and typically whenever I use it, I end up reading these sources on the side, or it'll be like I'm reading some other primary source and I need clarification on something. Do people mind this? Makes my job easier, but I know some people are fucking like extremely staunchly against AI, so if there's an argument against this, then what are RICO charges? Racketeer, okay. Because I would assume you could get people like Maduro, if you're ignoring the foreign policy dimension of this, on like racketeering and conspiracy trafficking stuff. Ongoing organization, which includes corporation, a gang, a political party, even an informal group. Like, yeah, this seems like it'd be RICO. Was Maduro indicted on this? That's so confusing. Like, they charged him with like terrorism and not like racketeering. I feel like the racketeering case is like a slam dunk, isn't it? If we believe what's in these indictments, which, honestly, good to be skeptical after whatever the fuck they did to Letitia James and James Comey. And Dakar, we literally just went over the legal definition of terrorism. So my question is, do you know what it means? And how are we designating these? based on its long history of political violence and insurgency. Excuse me. These successor groups are designated because they continue to engage in terrorist activity, including attacks on civilian infrastructure and U.S. interests. But doesn't there have to be the terroristic intent for this to be terrorism? Like, things can be illegal and harmful and not be terrorism, right? I'm looking for, because that's such a big part of these allegations. Okay, hold on, here we go. Knowing and intending to provide directly and indirectly something of pecuniary value to a person or organization that is engages in terrorism and terrorist activity, to following organizations that have been designated by the United States Secretary of State as FTOs pursuant to Section 219 of the INA. Or Section 219. We'll just read the Section 219 of the Immigration and Nationality Act authorizes the U.S. Secretary of State to designate foreign organizations as FTOs, a designation that helps combat terrorism by freezing assets, restricting visas, and preventing support for groups engaging in terrorism or retaining the capability to do so. Is this fully at the discretion of the executive branch? Okay. While the Secretary of State has broad authority, Section 219 of the INA includes specific statutory requirements and oversight by the legislative and judicial branches. The Secretary of State must notify the Speaker and Minority Leader of the House, as well as the President pro tempore and leadership of the Senate, 7 days before making a designation. Congress has the power to block or revoke a designation through an act of Congress, while the executive initiates the process. Okay. So did Congress sign off on TDA being designated an FTO? Congress did not sign off on this designation in the sense of a formal voter approval. Instead, designation was as an executive branch action carried out under the authority of Section 219 of the INA. Executive, bro, it's like a rabbit. It's like you find one thing that's confusing and you look up what it is, and there's like a whole fucking rabbit hole of 30 other things. This order creates a process by which certain international cartels and other organizations will be designated as FTOs, consistent with Section 219 of the INA, or specially designated global terrorists, consistent with AIPA, an executive order. Bro, what is executive order 13224? Like, this is like, I'm like 7 tabs into this. We're back at George W. Bush era. What's going on? I swear, if he references another executive order in this, I'm gonna crash out. Okay. Grave acts of terrorism and threats of terrorism committed by foreign terrorists, including terrorist attacks in New York, Pennsylvania, and the Pentagon committed on September 11th. Act recognized and condemned as... okay. Unusual, extraordinary threat to the national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States, and in furtherance of my proclamation of September 14, 2001, declaration of national emergency by the reason of certain terrorist attacks, hereby declare national emergency to deal with that threat. I also find that because of the pervasiveness and expansiveness of the financial foundation of foreign terrorists, financial sanctions may be appropriate for those foreign persons that support or otherwise associate with these foreign terrorists, like the Saudis. I also find that a need exists for further consultation and cooperation with and sharing of information by the U.S. and foreign financial institutions in additional to... Bro, I'm so lost at this point. I don't even know why we ended up here. Okay, yeah. Secretary of State Rubio formally designated Tren de Aragua met the statutory criteria under Section 219 of the INA. Okay, so it is fully at the first it said no, it's not just at its discretion. Now it's saying it actually is. Process is governed by a system of statutory requirements, congressional oversight, and judicial review. I'm so confused. Okay, so when the TDA was designated an FTO, was there statutory requirements, congressional oversight, and judicial review? Okay, yes. When Tren de Aragua was designated an FTO, the action was subject to all existing statutory requirements, congressional oversight mechanisms, and the potential for judicial review. Potential for it. Okay. Secretary of State Rubio determination February 6, 2025 was made only after an administrative record was compiled which demonstrated a sufficient factual basis to find TDA met the statutory criteria for an FTO designation. This included findings that TDA is a foreign organization engages in terrorist activity and threatens U.S. national security. Once target is identified, CT prepares a detailed administrative record, which is a compilation of information, typically including both classified and open sources information. It's crazy, by the way, how much can be done with classified information and, like, I think it's called ex parte stuff in court. So, like, I've been reading a lot about how fucked our, like, surveillance state and national security apparatus is. It's so bad. It's actually insane how, like, I think I'm thinking of the right thing in terms of what ex parte is. Where only one side gets to actually argue something. Okay, yeah, refers to legal proceeding, motion, or order granted to one party without the other party present or even notified. This is like how a lot of FISA courts work when they're getting, like, wiretaps on people. It's like an ex parte hearing where they're able to get a wiretap on you or, like, fucking basically stalk you without you really having I mean, they have a amicus something. What is it? I was just reading about this amicus. How do you pronounce this? What? Just say the word, bro. Okay, amicus curiae. An organization designated as an FTO may seek judicial review of the designation in the U.S. Court of Appeal for the District of Columbia Circuit not later than 30 days after the designation is published in the Federal Register. How did Rubio prove terrorist intent for TDA to designate it an FTO? Terrorist activity implies like an intent to do terrorism, right? Alliances, because like these are criminal groups, obviously bad, violent criminal groups, but like I feel like these distinctions are actually really relevant. One group is described as a ruthless, highly organized, and rapidly expanding organization. Again, I'm just where the... What were the three conditions? Wait, so for these three criteria... Hold on. Okay. Here we go. Here's my question. What the fuck? My mouse is tweaking out. Okay, there we go. Established terroristic intent for Maduro by linking his regime directly to the activities of the TDA, both of which were designated as foreign terrorist organizations. Okay. Actively encourage and exported TDA members to destabilize communities and intimidate American civilians. Administration officially declared... This seems like... Am I tripping that this seems like they're just calling anything terrorism? Like, not to say it's fine. It's obviously criminal and it's bad and stuff. Where's this... I don't understand how they got him on, like, terrorism charges and not on racketeering charges. Is there anyone here who understands, like, law stuff better than me? Free Maduro until it's backwards. They don't understand. They just created a million Maduros. Okay, so during times relevant in superseding indictment, FARC spin-off known as the Zetas, and each organization's members, operatives, and associates having knowledge such organizations and persons have engaged in terrorist activity and terrorism. I understand cocaine importation, conspiracy, all that stuff. I'm lost on the terrorism stuff. Like, I feel like drug traffickers traffic drugs to, like, make money. And, like, I guess expand their influence in the areas they operate. I don't know that this is done to, like, destroy the U.S. government. Or there's, like, a political agenda here in America. I'm not seeing that. Okay, so this charge, I don't even know I should. Possession of machine guns and destructive devices. Paragraphs 1 through 21 of the superseding indictment are re-alleged and incorporated by reference as though fully set forth herein, from at least in or about 1999 up to and including in or about 2025 in an offense begun and committed out of the jurisdiction of any particular state or district of the U.S., and for which at least one of two or more joint offenders has been and will be the first brought to and arrested in the Southern District of New York. Whoever writes indictments needs to learn, like, what a run-on sentence is, and just sometimes chill. I feel like a lot of this stuff is written in a way. So sometimes there's need for certain terminology, and for like length. I feel like sometimes they're doing too much. Like, this could just be made more intuitively comprehensible. Like, dude, when you read the Jack Smith indictments, I feel like those are really easy to understand, even for, like, a layman compared to this. They don't have shit on Jack Smith, apparently. Drug trafficking crime for which they may be prosecuted in a court of the United States, to wit, for Maduro Morris. Knowingly used and carried firearms in furtherance of such crimes, knowingly possessed firearms, and aided and abetted the use, carrying, and possession of firearms, to wit, machine guns that were capable of automatically shooting more than one shot without manual reloading by a single function of the trigger, as well as destructive devices. I don't understand. Like, how do you indict a foreign head of state for, like, machine gun possession? Maybe it's like a distribution of illegal weapons to people that were committing crimes in the United States. But I'm more confused after reading this indictment. This is such a, like... And by the way, this isn't even what it's about. They fully admit this is about the oil and this is about regime change and having U.S. influence over Venezuela. So let's just be clear, this is not even what it's about. But even if we take their excuse at face value, I'm, like, not really understanding the excuse. And hold on. Who was the ex-Honduran president that Trump pardoned. Okay, yeah, this guy. Juan Orlando Hernandez, the defendant, is a former member of the National Congress of Honduras and the former president of Honduras from at least in or around 2004 up to and including in around 2022. Hernandez participated in a corrupt and violent drug trafficking conspiracy to facilitate the importation of tons of cocaine in the U.S., received millions from trafficking organizations, including former leader of the Sinaloa cartel. He used those proceeds to enrich himself, finance his political campaigns, and commit voter fraud, including in connection with the 2013 and 2017 presidential elections. In exchange, he protected traffickers, including his brother and former member of the Honduran National Congress, Juan Antonio Hernandez Alvarado, from investigation, arrest, and extradition, cost-sensitive law enforcement. This sounds a lot like... This sounds exactly the same as what we just read, except, if anything, a little bit more serious. Because they were, like, seemingly had a way bigger involvement in the actual production. The means and methods of the drug trafficking conspiracy and furtherance of the drug trafficking conspiracy at various times between in or about 2004 and in or about 2022. Hernandez and other members of the conspiracy organized and executed their drug trafficking activities, including as follows, since at least in or about 2004. Here's the question. And hold on. We have count 1, cocaine importation conspiracy. How many counts was this? Count 2. Possession of machine guns and destructive device. No way. This is literally the exact same thing we just read against Maduro. Except Trump pardoned this guy. What the fuck? Are these not the same charges? Possession of machine guns and destructive devices. Conspiracy to possess machine gun... Wait. Are these different charges? Conspiracy to possess machine guns and destructive devices and possession of machine guns and destructive devices are separate and distinct charges under federal law. Possession charge. This charge focuses on the actual physical or constructive control over illegal items. To be convicted, the prosecution must prove that the individual had dominion or control over the items. Under the conspiracy charge, this charge focuses on an agreement between two or more individuals to commit a criminal act. Crucially, the actual possession does not need to have occurred for the conspiracy charge to apply. So, I need to make a video about this. What the fuck? So the Maduro charges are actually like weaker than the Hernandez charges. But he pardoned Hernandez. What? And hold on, I want to compare all these charges now. What was count 1? Cocaine importation conspiracy. Cocaine importation conspiracy. And just to remind everyone real quick what this was, and if you're watching on YouTube, this is so fucking annoying. Why is my... There we go. If you're watching on YouTube, I may just have to keep the screen frozen for you for a second, because CBS is really annoying about copyright stuff if you watch 60 minutes. and I just want to pull this up. Hold on.
Move millions of dollars around. Why did you pardon him?
Okay, are you ready? I don't know who he is. I know he got a 4-month sentence or something like that, and I heard it was a Biden witch hunt.
In 2020.
These are the same charges against. These are seemingly worse charges than what was apparently justification to do whole ass fucking removal of head of state. Okay. What the fuck? Count 3. Conspiracy to possess machine guns and destructive devices. Okay, wait. Maybe there's actual just possession charges in this and not just conspiracy. Hold on. Maybe I'm off on that. Okay. Okay. So they are the same. Still. Okay, so then these are the exact same charges. These are... One guy, he pardons, and he doesn't even know why he pardoned him. The other guy was removed as the head of state. You can't make this up, bro. What the fuck? Okay. Are there any Trump supporters in here who want to explain this logic to me? One guy gets pardoned, other guy we do regime change? These are like the exact same charges. In one case it was a Biden witch hunt, apparently. Can you imagine if the left started saying that this was a Trump witch hunt against Maduro? They would call us traitors, un-American, you have TDS. It's the same charges for the guy they just pardoned because it was a Biden witch hunt. This seems way more like a witch hunt. It was done for oil purposes. This is so fucking stupid, bro. What the fuck? I don't understand. Okay.
Terrorist organizations who control territory and operate with impunity from the territory of Venezuela against the interests of Colombia and the United States. These are the things we want addressed. If they are addressed, that's how we'll judge it. If they're not addressed, that's how we'll judge it.
And what happens if they're not addressed?
Well, as I said, we retain all the options we had before this raid and this capture and this arrest was made. We continue. The quarantine is in place right now. If you are a sanctioned boat and you are headed towards Venezuela, you will be seized either on the way in or on the way out with a court order that we get from judges in the United States. We will continue to enforce our sanctions. And that is...
It's so crazy. Because all they had to do to be immune from this criticism is not pardon the other guy. They have invalidated their own pretext. That's so crazy. The excuse that they themselves use is an excuse that they have said is bullshit. And it wasn't an excuse in the other case, because I don't believe he was the active head of state when he was indicted. Right? What's his name? Juan Orlando Hernandez, right? Oh, wow. Turns out you can do this without having to do regime change. Oh, wow, yeah, he definitely hit the Benjamin before ordering the strike.
going to continue to happen until such time as changes are made. I cannot overstate how crippling this is for their future. On the other hand, there's an alternative to that, and here's the alternative, and that is an oil industry that actually benefits the people, that actually goes to the benefit not of people, of the people, not just 2 or 3 or 5 people who are stealing it, and certainly not to Iran or any of the other sanctioned entities that we're going after.
But how does the United States intend to secure the oil fields? Won't that take U.S. troops?
Well, ultimately, this is not about securing the oil fields. This is about ensuring that no sanctioned oil can come in and out until they make changes to the governance of that entire industry.
And how do you ensure that?
Because right now that industry is non-existent in the traditional way. These oil fields basically are pirate operations. People literally steal the oil from the ground. That's how they hold this regime together. A handful of cronies benefit from this oil specific.
What a fucking scumbag, by the way. Just don't forget.
Florida Senator Marco Rubio is with us now from Houston. Senator, good morning.
Good morning.
Did someone hit the panic button last night?
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. I can just tell you that a con artist is about to take over the Republican Party and the conservative oil wells. They're producing at...
You can't make this stuff up. You can't. Hold on.
Core, this was an arrest of 2 indicted fugitives of American justice, and the Department of War supported the Department of Justice in that job. Now, there are broader policy implications here.
Think of that
At night after night.
first statement.
The kind of mission that you can do congressional notification on. It was a trigger-based mission in which conditions had to be met night after night. We watched and monitored that for a number of this. He was provided multiple very, very, very generous offers and chose instead to act like a wild man, chose instead to play around. And the result is what we saw tonight. The other message here is the following. You have a guy, like many people around the world, they like to play games. You have a guy who decides he's going to invite Iran into his country, is going to, do the confiscation of American oil companies, is going to flood our country with gang members, is going to take Americans prisoner and try to hold them for hostage and trade them like he was able to do with the Biden administration. Basically likes to play games all this time and thinks nothing's going to happen. And I hope what people now understand is that we have a president. The 47th president of the United States is not a game player.
The 47th president of the United States is not a game player. What do you think, 2016 Marco Rubio? What say you about this same person?
Button last night?
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. I can just tell you that a con artist is about to take over the Republican Party and the conservative movement, and we have to put a stop to it. And part of
That was really fast. That was 1.75 speed. Maybe some people missed what he just said.
But I can just tell you that a con artist is about to take over the Republican Party and the conservative movement, and we have to put a stop to it. And part of nothing's going to happen. And I hope what people now understand is that we have a president. The 47th president of the United States is not a game player. When he tells you that he's going to do something... But as look at the report you guys just did. Donald Trump last night had no answers on the issue of health care. And if you listen to that report that just led into this, the media is pumping him up as some sort of unstoppable force. Donald Trump has portrayed himself now consistently.
By the way, semi-announcement, I made a realization earlier on something that the left lets the right do to us that we cannot let them do anymore. We can never forget January 6th in 2020. That is so important to drill into people's brains what actually happened. I'm working on a long form YouTube video on January 6th. Cause it's so crazy, dude. All of these same Republicans in the 2016 primary predicted that Trump is like a con man who would never concede if he lost an election. And then they were proven right in 2020. And they all abandoned him in 2020. Or sorry, 2021, I guess, January. They all abandoned him after January 6th. And they come running back to scoop shit out of his ass and eat it for lunch.
He is fighting for the working people, and he has a record of sticking it to working people for 35 years. If any other candidate in this race had his record, there would be nonstop reporting on it. But unfortunately, he's being pumped up because many in the media with a bias know that he'll be easy to beat in a general election. So we're going to put a stop to it now. There is no way we are going to allow a con artist to take over the conservative movement, and Donald Trump is a con artist. No way we are going to allow a con artist to take over the conservative movement, and
there's no way.
So we're going to put a stop to it now. There is no way we are going to allow a con artist to take over the conservative movement, and Donald Trump is a con artist.
Where's the thing where Trump said, does anyone know the clip I'm talking about where Trump was like, they said no way, and I said way? Does anyone know what I'm talking about? I don't know how to search this up.
Maybe my favorite favorite part of the entire interview was when Donald Trump told the story of how he threatened Vladimir Putin not to invade Ukraine in the most 1990s way.
I said to Vladimir Putin, I said, don't do it. You can't do it, Vladimir. You do it, it's going to be a bad day. You cannot do it. And I told him things that what I do, and he said, no way. And I said, way.
There is no way we are going to allow a con artist to take over the conservative movement, and Donald Trump is a con artist.
He said no way, and Trump said way.
So what do you think a Trump government would look like, Senator?
It would be chaos. No one knows, but it would look probably like the positions he's held for all these years on many of these issues. He is wholly unprepared to be president of the United States. He refuses to answer questions on any specific public policy. He has no plan for health care, for example. They asked him about the debt. He claimed he's going to...
Who is this guy based? Who is this guy? If hell is real, it's made for people like Marco Rubio, who like know what they're doing right now. Rubio knows what he's doing.
Cut the debt by cutting fraud and abuse, which everyone acknowledges, and he didn't get any follow-up or any press on that, and nobody pressed him on that afterwards. I tried to get the moderators to ask him about it. This is the most important government job on the planet. We're about to turn over the conservative movement to a person that has no ideas of any substance on the important issues, the nuclear codes of the United States, to an erratic individual, and the conservative movement to someone who has spent a career sticking it to working people.
Please let us get a few more questions in.
We want to ask you specifically about a meeting that CNN is reporting this morning that your campaign manager met with top donors behind closed doors and the possibility of a contested convention in order to...
this is boring now. I want to hear more of this.
I bet you all know. You all have friends. You all have friends that are thinking about voting for Donald Trump. Friends, do not let friends vote for con artists.
Oh, okay. What else do you have to say, little Marco?
Let's turn to Senator Marco Rubio. He is crisscrossing his home state of Florida, sounding not just upset about Trump and the violence at some of Trump's rallies, but almost in despair. And joining us now from Orlando, Florida, Senator Marco Rubio. Senator, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning.
This weekend, you condemned Donald Trump for allegedly inciting his supporters to commit violence. You called it a, quote, grotesque.
What?
And for allegedly inciting his supporters to commit violence. You called it a, quote, grotesque and disturbing development in American politics. Frightening. What are you frightened about?
Yeah, little Marco. What were you so frightened? This is not January 6th they're talking about, by the way. This is some Trump rally in 2016 where Marco Rubio is saying Trump is inciting political violence. These people all know exactly what they're doing. And even here, I can use Marco Rubio's own words against him in a slightly different way.
And let's dispel once and for all with this fiction.
Let's dispel with this fiction that the Republican Party doesn't know what it's doing. They know exactly what they're doing. Marco Rubio knows exactly what he's doing. It's not incompetence or ignorance, it's malice. I agree, Mr. Rubio, I agree. I hate these people so much. Hold on, is my audio not working on YouTube? Again? There we go.
So I'm not excusing their behavior, but this is not just the protesters in Chicago. This is now multiple rallies where people are assaulted and beat up, where a guy gets sucker punched by one of the Trump supporters, and then instead of condemning it, Trump is silent. When the guy is released from jail, he says the next time maybe we should kill the protester. Again, there's silence.
He's complaining about silence in terms of violence at Trump rallies in 2016. Yet after January 6th, And through the pardoning of the January 6 terrorists, this guy glazes Trump for a living now. And no one seems to care. This is just not discussed.
Then he goes on stage and makes things up.
You know what I would do if I was a Democrat right now that was especially in charge of like advertisements, paid advertisements? Find Marco Rubio ads from the Republican primary that are shitting on Donald Trump, and they end with him saying, "I'm Marco Rubio and I approve this message." I guarantee that there exist ads from the Republican primary of him saying Trump is a con artist and he supports political violence. "I'm Marco Rubio and I approve this message." Just recycle Rubio's old campaign ads. Everywhere. Just do that. Find the clip of Pete Hegseth talking shit about Trump on Fox News in like 2015. They say we have TDS for making these arguments. Motherfucker, you made this argument yourself 10 years ago when there was less reason to make the argument. These arguments now hold 1,000,000 times more water, and now you don't believe them anymore? It's like Rubio was concerned about Trump inciting political violence when someone got punched in the face at his rally, but not when Trump is calling for the arrest and execution of his political opponents and pardoning terrorists? There's a special place in hell for these people.
He's telling the story about a general who dipped bullets into pig blood and shot a bunch of prisoners, of Muslim prisoners. Not only is it outrageous, it's a lie. And then he claims that the guy that stormed the stage was linked to ISIS. I mean, he has turned the most important election in a generation into a circus, into a complete fiasco and a carnival. And this country deserves better. I mean, at some point, people have to wake up here. This is really going to do damage to America.
At some point, people have to wake up here, said the guy before eating an entire bottle of melatonin and popping a Xanax.
I want to read a tweet that Donald Trump just sent out. He wrote, quote, "Bernie Sanders is lying when he says his disruptors aren't told to go to my events. Be careful, Bernie, or my supporters will go to yours." Your response, sir?
I didn't even know this was a tweet that existed. And again, why is... At this point, I will pay someone to explain to me why this happens on my lives all the time. My screen share feed has to be refreshed, like randomly. Can someone explain what causes? I will pay you. It's so fucking annoying. I don't know if I realized like 10 minutes too late or like in time. Same with my audio capture.
About Bernie Sanders' campaign and who they're sending what, but this is not just Bernie Sanders. Yeah, a few people have Bernie Sanders signs. Okay, I don't agree with them going and thinking they can shut down a rally. This is something the left has now been doing on college campuses. But he wants to deflect and distract. Here's the bottom line. He has said to people, why don't we basically beat up the protesters and beat up the hecklers and I'll pay your legal bills. And here's what people have to understand. You think it's a joke, but there are people out there that are not balanced. There are people out there that are not completely in control of themselves. And they hear something like...
To stream, I use OBS to stream to YouTube, and then I use TikTok Live Studio to stream to TikTok Live.
This from a leader, you don't know what they're going to do next. And when someone is seeking a position of leadership and is already in a position of influence, you speak responsibly. This notion that a president can just say anything they want, or even a presidential candidate can say anything they want, whatever comes to mind, it's just not true, and it's reckless, and it's dangerous. And I hope people wake up on time and realize what's happening.
It happens more often on OBS than it does on TikTok Live Studio, but it does sometimes also happen on Live Studio.
Here, because if we reach a point in this country where we can't have a debate about politics without it getting to levels of violence and anger where people think that just because you're angry, you can say and almost do anything you want, we're going to lose our republic. We're going to have a big problem. Those images from Chicago the other night, it looks like something out of politics. Without it getting to levels of violence and anger where people think that just because you're angry, you can say and almost do anything you want, we're going to lose our republic. We're going to have a big problem. Those images from Chicago the other night, it looks like...
Oh, man. I'm already envisioning the January 6th video, okay? You have slow motion video of the Capitol rioters breaking the windows of the Capitol to get inside the building, and narrating over that footage is not me. It's Marco Rubio saying this.
Presidential candidate can say anything they want, whatever comes to mind, that a president can just say anything they want, or even a presidential candidate can say anything they want, whatever comes to mind, it's just not true, and it's reckless, and it's dangerous. And I hope people wake up on time and realize what's happening here, because if we reach a point in this country where we can't have a debate about politics without it getting to levels of violence and anger where people think that just because you're angry, you can say and almost do anything you want, we're going to lose our republic. We're going to have a big problem. Those images from Chicago the other night,
we're going to lose our republic. If we say this now, by the way, if we say this now, that the actions of Donald Trump are going to cause us to lose our republic, you guys all know what they say back to us, right? You're inciting violence right now. You're inciting violence by saying this about Trump. Oh, someone needs to investigate little Marco here then, because apparently he was inciting violence against Trump in 2016.
Out of the third world.
What was it?
You can say and almost do anything you want. We're going to lose our republic. We're going to have a big problem. Those images from Chicago the other night, it looks like something out of the third world. I have to say, Senator, I brought this up at the debate in Miami on Thursday evening.
And you know who posted this video? The Marco Rubio verified YouTube account. What does he post nowadays? What's he up to? Oh, he's been real quiet. I'm curious. What did he say about January 6th?
You said that you based your vote largely on the fact that you did not like the precedent of convicting a president for impeachment, once they've left office. So setting that aside for a second, granting that as being the justification for your vote, did the managers, though, from the House convince you that Donald Trump bore some responsibility for what happened on January 6th?
Well, they didn't have to convince me of that because I said from the outset that I thought he bore some responsibility, but the primary responsibility in my mind continues to belong, as it does anywhere, on the people that did it. I mean, look, there's an assortment. People will all learn more, and some of the public will learn more about the events of that day, but there was a wide assortment of individuals involved in that. Let's begin with this. There were I don't know what the latest estimate is, 300,000 or 400,000 people that came up to Washington for that day. Of that, a small fraction, though a significant number, but a small fraction, I would say probably less than 1 or 2%, actually entered the Capitol and did that. There were people associated with that have been involved in these things even before Donald Trump was elected president. Some of these militia groups, these anti-government groups I warned about last June and July when they were showing up at the unrest that was going on in different streets around the country.
Isn't it super funny now, by the way, how all of MAGA, just because Trump deposed Maduro, is like against authoritarianism? They're against abuses of power now. Because it's like the pretext to go after Maduro. You want to talk about abuse? You want to play this game? Okay, let's talk about it. Like,
in some cases, because they're anti-government militias and activists. There are other people that sadly have been ensnarled in conspiracy theories online and thought they were sort of acting out this great day that was going to be the storm, as they call it, and so forth. So there's an assortment of individuals there. Now,
hold on. I guess we're gonna shift a little bit into January 6th.
And what Trump's going to do is just declare victory, right? He's going to declare victory.
This is before the 2020 election, by the way. This is before the 2020 election.
And what Trump's going to do is just declare victory, right? He's going to declare victory. But that doesn't mean he's the winner. He's just going to say he's the winner. The Democrats don't.
Every time MAGA says, you guys lost the argument on January 6th because Trump still won the election, Trump won because people didn't know about January 6th. They didn't know, most people don't understand fully what happened after the 2020 election. They don't have all the information. Maybe people here who watch me, they know this by now. How many people know that Trump was calling people and taunting them and threatening them during the Capitol riots? As people were hiding in their offices under desks and stuff, during the Capitol riots, Donald Trump was making phone calls to other Republicans and taunting them and threatening them. And by the way, a small group of people breaking some windows wasn't going to overthrow the U.S. government. Really? Because it was actually exactly according to Trump's plan. He successfully delayed the certification of the electoral votes, and he called people to try to convince them to either call into question Biden's electoral votes or just side with, pressure Pence to certify Trump's fake electoral votes from the fake elector scheme.
More of our people vote.
We didn't even... It's such a crazy week for news. I didn't even mention the Jack Smith testimony. I didn't even mention it yet.
myself, we do have to appreciate the committee.
Where can I find this with a transcript, though?
Have those votes.
There we go. This is crazy shit, bro.
Statements are almost just.
By the way, there's a reason this was released on New Year's Eve. There's a reason they rejected Jack Smith's request to have this be on live TV. Right? Their biggest nightmare was this being like a big national televised event that everyone's paying attention to and all the YouTube political channels are covering it. They didn't want that. Listen, if y'all are so confident that Jack Smith is this like evil, deranged Jack Smith, whatever Trump calls him, and this is all like a horrible witch hunt, you guys could interrogate him while he's under oath on live TV. If you're so confident in your case, why would you reject his request to do it publicly and then quietly drop this recording on New Year's Eve? Again, because they know. They know. That's what makes this so gross. And this is why I have a certain level of hatred for elected Republicans that I don't even have for Trump supporters. Because elected Republicans fully know that Trump is an authoritarian and a criminal. They are 1,000,000% aware of that. They were the same ones condemning him after January 6th and saying Ron DeSantis is the future of our party. They were the same ones in the 2016 Republican primary saying that Donald Trump encourages political violence and he's a con man and he should never be near power. They know, and they still back him. And they think that we're all fucking stupid. And they try to gaslight us into not talking about January 6th. Isn't it so funny when a Republican is like, you guys are still so obsessed with January 6, 2021? Bro, that was like years ago at this point. Anyways, back to talking about the 2016 Russia hoax. Huh? You silly libs are so obsessed with something that happened back in 2021. You should be obsessed with something that never even happened in 2016. Okay.
Regurgitating what these people have told him. I mean, isn't that the case?
No, and
you know, his statements are almost just regurgitating what these people have told him. I mean, isn't that the case?
Am I tripping? Or does he sound like he's about to start crying when he asks that question? Isn't that the case?
Regurgitating what these people have told him. I mean, isn't that the case?
No, and in fact, one
beta, isn't that what Jesse Lee Peterson says? Beta.
of the strengths
Jack Smith is a fucking Sigma Omega Alpha male.
Of our case and why we felt we had such strong proof is our witnesses were not going to be political enemies of the president. They were going to be political allies. We had numerous witnesses who would say, I voted for President Trump. I campaigned for President Trump. I wanted him to win. The Speaker of the House in Arizona, the Speaker of the House in Michigan. We had an elector in Pennsylvania who is a former congressman who is going to be an elector for President Trump, who said that what they were trying to do was an attempt to overthrow the government and illegal. Our case was built on, frankly, Republicans who put their allegiance to the country before the party. And so
also,
the president
speaking of their hypocrisy, the same people who say that calling Donald Trump a fascist is a call to violence will tell you that Donald Trump saying, fight like hell or you won't have a country anymore, was not a call to violence.
Information from people he trusted on other issues. He rejected it whenever it didn't fit him staying in office. And there was a pattern in our case where anytime any information
I
came...
want to go back to the Steve Bannon transcript, bro.
That count. Theirs voted
This
mayor.
was planned.
And so they're going to have
the plan was always Whether or not Trump wins, you declare victory and you try to change the results. Like, what do you say? Did my screen just freeze again? I'm actually triggered by this. And okay, the audio capture also just randomly stopped on OBS. This is so fucking annoying.
It's going to be a firestorm. We're going to have Antifa crazy, the media crazy, the courts are crazy, and Trump's going to be sitting there mocking, tweeting shit out. You lose. I'm the winner. I'm the king. And he'll be all over. He'll be going, "Where's Hunter? Is Hunter on a crack pipe?" I mean, no, he'll be, because then it doesn't matter. Remember, here's the thing. After then, Trump never has to go to a voter again. He's going to fire Ray, the FBI director, and fire the He's going to say, "Fuck you." How about that? Because he's never going to. He's done his last election. Oh, he's going to be off the chain. He's going to be crazy. Also, if Trump is losing by 10 or 11 o'clock at night, it's going to be even crazier. Because he's going to sit right there and say they stole it.
Agree.
I'm directing the Attorney General to shut down all ballot places in all 50 states. It's going to be no.
This was October 31st, 2020, before the 2020 election. And this is just a short transcript of this whole conversation. Where's the full transcript? The whistleblowers, the hard drive from hell, laptop from hell stopped his momentum, but he was very close to winning outright and shutting down Trump. The hard drive from hell stopped his momentum and drove up his negatives. In American politics, it's very hard to get your approval ratings up, as you see with Trump. Trump's approval ratings never go very high to 50, but the way you can drive an opponent's negatives way up, and that's what we did on the hard drive from hell. The hard drive from hell was the inflection point of this campaign, because Biden went into hiding. So there were three alternatives before that happened. Number one, the worst one, is Trump would lose Tuesday night. He would lose Ohio and Florida and Arizona. Well, that's what they were planning on, right? And then the second scenario is that it's too close to call. And then it goes on for days and days and days and days and weeks. And that's where you start counting the votes in Arizona and in Florida and all these things. The third scenario is Trump's ahead. He's won Ohio, he's leading in Florida, he's leading in Pennsylvania. He then is leading in Arizona. And what Trump's going to do is just declare victory, right? He's going to declare victory. But that doesn't mean he's a winner. He's just going to say he's a winner. Then we go into all the chaos of the counting, and it takes a while to. The probability Trump could win outright on Tuesday night is very small. Maybe. It could happen. If that happens, it's going to be great. So my point for the broadcast, this was him giving instructions to like another broadcasting company on how to cover election night. So my point for the broadcast is we have a number of assets that we can use to make the telecast a global telecast. Hold on. So you'll have a complete polling. Hold on, I'm trying to find there's some crazy shit in here. If you have any questions, we can even put up Posobiec. One America's allowed us to have Posobiec for that evening because we're on top of One America. He's going to go down and be on their broadcast. He may be linked in ours. Let me find. Okay, yeah. Remember, the polling now is all projected about what's going to happen, but what he's doing, because so many votes, remember, 2/3 of the votes have already been taken in Arizona. Arizona's vote by mail, right? I think what, 60% of the votes are in or something. I mean, you know, the votes are, isn't Arizona almost all mail-in ballots? Primarily, yeah, I'm saying so. He's doing the data analytics, so he can give you, the reason I'm using this guy in 2016, he was really the only guy that really, he and the guy from, okay, a lot of this is also just random. I'm trying to find. This is like a very. I want the full audio for this as well. I don't know where the full audio is. I've only ever seen that short clip. Hold on. They say it's because of the coronavirus and the only 50. The real reason is that there's going to be, they think if you notice everything is getting boarded up, they think there's going to be 20 or 25,000 Antifa will surround the White House, particularly if Trump's leading. Right? Oh, no. It's going to be, you're going to have the National Guard out. You're going to have, in fact, when you leave your hotel, you got to make sure you get a pass because what they're going to do is cordon off. They're going to create a perimeter. That perimeter is probably going to block on the other side of your hotel. That perimeter is, I think the National Guard's going to be there with military vehicles. And what they're going to do is make sure no Antifa can come inside. Where did you find this? It's like a Mother Jones article. Just look up full transcript of leaked Steve Bannon tape. What happens is that he'll start the night with us. What I think will happen is by 10, I think Trump's gonna, what we think's gonna happen right now is different than 3 weeks ago. Since we stopped Biden's momentum and made him weaker, we think that Trump's gonna win Ohio. He's gonna be leading in Florida, and we think he's gonna be leading in Pennsylvania because there's no mail-in ballots counted yet, right? Leading. And then we think in North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona, he's gonna be either close enough or leading. And he's just gonna go in. Remember, this is crazy. This is actually unreal. And hold on. Again, my screen is frozen. Okay. He's going to be either close enough or leading, and he's just going to go in. Remember, this is just with like 20% of the vote counted. Trump's just going to walk in and go, I'm the winner. Oh, yeah. And it's going to cause a meltdown. And that's why his lawyers are going to have to, and that'll probably happen 10 or 11 at night. Interesting. I wonder if that's true. People forget how scary and how bad this can get. Do you guys really think... Do we all really think there's not going to be a part 2 of the speech when midterms come around this November? Really? We're not expecting a part 2 of the speech that's like a million times more unhinged? Does anyone remember watching this live? This was like such a pivotal moment in America. I literally remember like a pit in my stomach when I watched this live, because when this first happened, no one knew what Trump was going to say. It's like Trump is about to make a statement about the election. Votes are still being counted. I wonder what he's going to say. And he could have said, we're confident we're going to win. Votes are still being counted.
So our goal now...
He doesn't actually think he won. Steve Bannon told us that probably at 10 or 11 at night, he's going to come out and say, I'm the winner, which is exactly what he did. It was planned. Trying to see what else was in here. On that night, remember the key is Tuesday night, I think we took care of because 3 weeks ago it looked like Biden could win on Tuesday night, right? He could win Ohio, he could win Florida. If he wins Ohio or Florida, game over. It doesn't matter what happens in Arizona. Trump absolutely has to win those 2 states early or at least be in it. Win Ohio and be ahead in Florida. He's literally saying we have to be able to convince our dumbass followers that Trump actually won, which means we have to be up in these states. Just look up like Steve Bannon leaked transcript. I think we took that off the table. My point is, any peaceful resolution of this is probably gone. Because the other 3 alternatives, either Biden's up slightly and Trump says he stole it and he's not leaving, or it's undefined and we can't figure out who's leaving and Trump says he's stealing it and he's not leaving. This is there's audio of this. We just played an audio clip of this. Or Trump's leading, which is the one they're going to burn the city down after. And this is what's going to happen. He's predicting January 6, 2021 on October 30th, 2020, before Election Day in 2020. How many people do you think knew about this before voting for Trump in 2024? And I don't think it's naive to say if the American public understood this and everything else that happened around the 2020 election, I don't think Trump would have won in 2024. Or Trump's leading, which is the one, this is what happened. He literally said, we're lucky that in certain states, they count the ballots on the day of the election before they count the mail-in ballots. That's going to make it look like Trump is ahead. Trump's leading, which is the one, and if that's the case, they're going to burn the city down after. Because, and this is what's going to happen. I think right now in the polling, Trump's doing good in Ohio. And remember, Ohio closes at 7:30. It's early. It's an early reporting state. Florida is at 8. And you'll know that. So by 9 or 10, you'll have a real sense of where this is. As it sits here today on Saturday afternoon, 10 or 11 o'clock, Trump's going to walk into the Oval Office, tweet out, I am the winner. Game over. Suck on that. And again, my display capture is frozen. This is like, is the deep state doing something? This is actually really, really annoying. I'm the winner, game over, suck on that. And literally, they're going to try to burn the city down. It's going to explode. He's called out the National Guard, so we have essentially the army here. But remember, we're in hostile territory. This is like the Civil War. The Democrats control Washington, D.C. It's all Washington, D.C., although it's a federal city. It's controlled by Democrats. Remember, one of the reasons the rioting's been so bad here is they just backed the police off. The police just walk back and just, they burn Georgetown. They loot the stores and nobody does anything. By the way, slight pivot. Did you guys see that someone bet a lot of money on Maduro being removed as the leader of Venezuela on Cauchy, and the account was made like the day before it happened? We should probably investigate that. That's crazy. A new Cauchy account was created just to bet large sums of money on Maduro out before January 31st. Maybe it was Polymarket. I thought it was Cauchy. Specifically, Maduro out before January 31st. New account. I believe it was at least 5 figures, if not more. It was multiple transactions. Let me find it. Maybe it was Polymarket. Okay, a brand new account in Polymarket only invested in U.S. going toward Venezuela and Maduro out by January 31st. Up 13,000 so far. Was spending thousands on Maduro out at bargain prices as recently as 4 hours ago. Oh! This was tweeted before it was announced that Maduro is captured. This is so fucking crazy. Bro, let me just tell you how bad this is. I'm going to bookmark this tweet, actually. Let's just go on Twitter. What? Didn't I just bookmark? Here we go. Look at this. This was January 3rd at 1:57 a.m. Am I tripping? This is before Maduro has been detained or captured, right? 1:57 a.m. January. This is before. Someone bought Maduro out by January 31st, 2026 at 7 cents. At 6 cents, at 5 cents, at 12 cents. And these the profit you're seeing here, $172,000. This is before it happened. Because at the time this was tweeted, it seems like the likelihood of Maduro out was 50%. And again, my screen capture is frozen. This makes no sense. Hold on. Oops. What just happened, bro? Okay. There we go. There we go. This was tweeted. Someone said, some war-related insider trading, a brand new account in Polymarket only invested in the U.S. going to war with Venezuela and Maduro, out by January 31st, up 13,000 so far. Was spending thousands on Maduro out at bargain prices as recently as 4 hours ago. Now it's at 50 cents. And again, read this, 530%, bro. 436,000 shares at 7 cents. Let's just do the math on this. Okay. Times 436, 759. Okay. So this is someone who spent $30.5K, around $31,000, to bet that Maduro's out before January 31st. Okay, they spent $30,573 to do so. Now, if you multiply, maybe my math is wrong here. Okay, no, yeah, this adds up. And they're making upwards of 400K. That's crazy. Who is... It's so blatant, it's so obvious, and no one gives a fuck. No one cares. No one gives a singular fuck. It's actually crazy. And again, can someone explain how this is happening? That my display capture is freezing so much? let's wrap up today's live with something a little bit more lighthearted. Hold on. RAM? Dude, I have good RAM. Hold on. $18 gigabytes of RAM. M3 Pro MacBook with 18 gigs of RAM. I feel like it's a very powerful machine. Like, this does not make sense for the machine I'm running it on. I feel like it's like a software issue. There's no way this can be a hardware issue. But we can end on something lighthearted. Has that? Because I'm gonna log off for tonight. We do have Task Manager. Has anyone been keeping up with the drama in the Diamond District? Does anyone know what this is before I go over it? It's like we're getting uncut gems in real life. Speaking of which, I still have to watch Marty Supreme. Has anyone seen that yet? That shit looks good. I saw this, but I don't know what it's about. This isn't it. Hold on. We need YouTube to hear that as well. Seen Mario Supreme twice, it's so good. I really want to watch it. It looks good. I just know it's directed by the same guy who made Uncut Gems, and Uncut Gems is one of my favorite movies of all time. I saw it with my friends, they hated it, but I think Uncut Gems is an amazing movie. Okay, now YouTube can hear as well, so feast your ears and eyes, everyone.
Where's my f***ing money, motherfucker? Where's my f***ing money?
Oh my god. What is this, bro? I'm actually pissed off at this shit. Hold on. How is this happening? I guess we'll rewatch. Oh, and now my Mac audio capture stopped for some reason on YouTube. What the f-
F***ing money, motherfucker! Where's my f***ing money?
He ended up getting the dub here because the guy spit in his face and then the guy got arrested. I think this is a video of him getting spit in the face.
Fucking little bitch. You fucking bitch. Yo, don't fucking fuck out of here.
Do you know how angry you have to be to just go and fight like 5 people at once? Like, he's not trying to... The smart thing to do when a large number of people starts trying to beat you up is escape. This is not the place to prove like you're like a tough guy, okay? Just run. There's like 5 people here trying to kill him. And bro does not care. He's just like, fuck it. He slaps this guy in the face. Why is this frozen?
Don't fucking
slap in the face. They scammed him, or one of his customers. He was legit to be angry. I think someone actually got ripped off to the tune of like tens of thousands of dollars. This is like the Diamond District in New York.
Fuck out of here.
No.
Oh, they wildin'.
Oh my god. What happened?
Oh, they wildin'.
He's really standing on business. You have to respect him.
Yeah, get that girl. You're David.
In the end, they tried to kill me, strangle me with my own chain. To get out of this hospital. TracksNYC.com. Fucking little bitch.
Bro still plugged TracksNYC.com. I honestly... This is a way cooler example of fuck around and find out than regime change in Venezuela.
my fucking money, motherfucker!
Social anxiety fears this man. Next time a restaurant messes up my order, where's my fucking crouton? There was another video.
Blocked me.
This is like something this guy does.
And you blocked me. But today, now that your fucking face is on the wall, you're playing fucking games. Back the fuck down. No.
And how does one achieve this posture and this build? How does one achieve this build? That's crazy. Hold on.
And you blocked me. But today, now that you're fucking wall, you're playing fucking games. Back the fuck down. Know your place, you dog. Blasphemer. You sit here calling yourself the fucking Lord? Who the fuck do you think you're talking to? Humble yourself. And keep your mouth shut. Now fuck off. Don't feel bad for me, Scott. Feel bad for yourself. You thought you were gonna come some pussy over here and a free bracelet? Guess again. Should've left those fucking stories up.
Whoever thinks they figured out what's wrong with my OBS and TikTok live studio today, after seeing it in action, DM me on here or on Instagram with how to fix it. And if it works, I'll Cash App you like 20 bucks. I really will, because this shit is starting to piss me off.
I gave you an out, but you didn't take it. Now, I don't want to hear your fucking mouth. Shut the fuck up, bro.
Scott, you soft fucking bitch. Guess what? With this fucking little bitch right here. Because one of us is a real piece of fucking shit, apparently. I'm gonna tell you what a soft bitch he is, because I know what the fuck I'm doing. And then you have this fucking crack whore that's fucking been playing game, but she's gonna fucking get off the hook because I got this motherfucker, but she's not that fucking far off the hook. Snyder, you fucking junkie. And I'm gonna teach you motherfuckers manners! You think it's a fucking...
Have you tried turning it off and turning it back on? I have tried that. I've tried... That's like the oldest trick. I wish that worked. It works temporarily. If I refresh the audio capture and the screen capture, it starts working, but then it just goes back to being timed out.
Joke! You fucking bitch!
He's fighting the TV. This is like...
Soft-ass fucking bitch.
I respect when people commit to things. And this man is doing 1v7s, standing on... And if someone scams you out of money, you have a right to be angry, by the way. So I don't even know if he's doing too much here. Maybe he's doing just the right amount. I don't know. I don't know these people.
Fuckers manners! You think it's a fucking joke?
He's... Does he think that this picture can, like, hear? Why is he maintaining eye contact with this picture on the screen?
You fucking bitch! Soft-ass fucking bitch. Are you out of your fucking mind? You fucking soft bitch. With this fucking low-life cocksucker, the dumb fuck that he is, he wanted some old-school jewelry. He's the Lord. May the Lord be with you. Can you get...
I caught it in fucking 4K. I just saw it freeze on me. Did you everyone... That's so fucking annoying. Hold on. You sneaky fucker. I caught you this time. This is definitely like deep state intervention at this point.
May the Lord be with you. Can you get me an old school shrinkity-doopity boopity boop? And this fucking retard, you dumb fuck, I'm gonna take you for a fucking ride. I'm gonna step on your fucking neck, bitch. You fucking think you're playing games with me? Taking your phone call, you telling... Dictate the terms of business, you little bitch! Play with me! I'll teach you how to fucking play! You like...
Hey, yo.
Princess got diamonds! I'll give you some Princess got diamonds, you fucking stupid motherfucker. You think I never met some cocksucker for... Fuck! He didn't like the way you're talking.
This is real. This is very real. TikTok might close your live because of the R word. I'm hoping we don't get hit with any more random R. I'm hoping he doesn't say it again. There's only a minute and a half left in this video. This is just too funny. I have to watch this.
I mean, you're down. This dickhead thinks I'm gonna fall for it. Yeah. No father, grew up in the ghetto, you know what I'm saying? Keep fucking playing with me, bitch. I'm not fucking around with you. I don't go tit for tat, bro. I gotta get your tracks. I don't do that. All I got is nukes out here, bro. 17 fucking years. You think I was on the beach with my sunglasses on, motherfucker? I'm supposed to sit here. Oh, I got 5 minutes with Scott. Woo! You call yourself, I'm the Lord. The Lord of what? I'm gonna fucking humble you, motherfucker. Don't grab my fucking money and fucking play with it, bro. Think again, you fucking dumb bitch. Yeah, you're done. You have my shit, but you're done with me. You fucking bitch. That's not what I learned over the 17 years I fucking hustled out here.
Okay.
Bend your fucking neck. Hey, put your fucking forehead on the floor and kiss my fucking feet, bitch. Fuck you think this is? I'm gonna run around for Scott. You want an iced out fucking bracelet? Buy it!
I'm good.
You fucking bitch! Or if you're gonna do promo, make sure you know how to do business! This ain't the fucking Hollywood! It's the Diamond District, you fucking bitch!
I needed to watch this to like lower my cortisol after watching how the
And you blocked
Republicans are
me.
selling out our country and setting our constitution on fire. I need sometimes like mindless slop of people crashing out to just cancel out the fucking nihilism and just despair of what's going on in our country right now. This was just too funny to me. Is there any other like lighthearted stuff we can close off the live with today? Oh wow, this guy covered it. I really want to react to this Adam Mockler Jubilee thing, dude. I already know he absolutely cooked, but YouTube is so annoying about copyright if you react to this stuff on live. TikTok is chill, but if I am live on YouTube and we watch this, my live's gonna get taken down. What was your announcement? Did I have an announcement to make today? I have an announcement, like, down the road. Not yet. I have an announcement I'll make within the next week. Within the next couple weeks. Just watch Logan Paul in Japanese Forest, bro. True, I should. Does anyone have anything funny we can watch before I hop off? If not, I'm just gonna end the live for today. What are some other shows you like to watch to decompress? I have nothing right now. Cause Pluribus is over, and that was the one thing giving me purpose in life. Every week I'm waiting for the new Pluribus episode. It's over now, and they're just. Charlie bit my finger. I haven't even heard of that. That's like, that wasn't funny in 2007, let alone now. That was never funny. I forgot what I was saying. I completely lost track of what I was saying. Heated rivalry. I'm very picky with shows. I'm like extremely picky with shows. To a fault, where like someone will recommend a good show to me, and out of stubbornness, like I just won't watch it until like I decide I feel like watching it. So Pluribus is amazing. Pluribus is such a good show, especially if you're into politics and like socio-political philosophy. I've watched Severance. Severance is a banger. Pluribus was a banger. Smiling Friends also is over. I mean, not over, but the season of Smiling Friends is over. Bro's an Apple TV enjoyer. I am. And what about it? AJ? Who called you that, Brock? What about it, AJ? I am an Apple TV enjoyer. They have Severance. They have Pluribus. They have Severance and they have Pluribus. And also Severance and Pluribus, don't forget. Great shows. Okay, maybe we're gonna wrap up for today. Wow, they literally fund Israel, Russia, North Korea, China. Oh my, I'm giving them even more of my money now. Yes. Keel and Friends and Neighbors. Kevin Language Show is a funny YouTube show. Any animes? Yeah, I've seen... I recently finished Attack on Titan. It was good. It was good. I don't really watch anime that much right now, though. Like, I used to have a big anime... I've seen a lot of anime, but I don't really watch anime actively like that. What anime have I seen? Death Note, Code Geass, Fullmetal Alchemist, Attack on Titan, Psycho Pass, Blue Exorcist. I know there's other stuff as well. I'm like blanking right now. I don't even know. Code Geass is the best anime of all time. Code Geass is one of the best shows of all time, period. I don't want to confine it to the anime category. That is one of the best pieces of entertainment ever made by man. And I'm not even exaggerating. Anyone who's watched it, I feel like would agree. That show is peak. Like, that Code Geass is held in the same regard as Breaking Bad. In my opinion. It is so good. It is... Yes, it's worth it. Yes. It is... It's so good. It's great. Shout out to this guy, by the way. Oh, my screen thing froze again. I've never seen Steins Gate, so I don't know if it's better. But hold on. Properties. Again. This shit fucking freezes on me. Shout out to this guy. I've been watching him recently, Brad Palumbo. Disagree with him on virtually everything politically. Virtually everything. But this seems like the only, like, I guess, I don't know if he's a right-winger or he's like a libertarian more so. Only guy who actually seems to criticize Trump's authoritarianism. Like, he's like... When the corny ass line of like, I'm an independent thinker. No, you're not. You just watched fucking PBD podcast with your thumb up your ass. Like, none of these people are actually independent. This guy seems like an actual, like, he thinks for himself. And at this point, I don't even care what it is that you think for yourself. If you actually are just thinking for yourself and not taking marching orders from someone's podcast, I have to respect it. Because no one does that. And even, but by the way, you know what I hate? Maybe this is bad to hate. When people tell me, like, you're all I watch for news, like, I get all my information from you. I appreciate the sentiment, genuinely. Please do not do that. Please do not do that. I am just one person. I have no formal training in media or journalism or law. Like, consume my content. Send me all your money, yes, true. Support the radical left lunatics and thugs like myself. But think critically. And one thing I've been thinking about a lot recently, honestly, is like audience capture as well. AJ Akara, so AJ, is audience capture, which is another thing, which is that I need to start sharing more hot takes that I know my audience would disagree with. Because I refuse to just start only saying things that people who watch me want to hear, and then either changing my opinions on things to appease my audience, or just not mentioning topics where I disagree with my audience. So I do not want to create an echo chamber here. Just like important thing, independent thought, like actual independent thought, not just a cliche, is really important. 22, the live is like ending right now. We're wrapping it up. What did you want to talk about? You be spitting facts? So I do. This is true. I do spit facts. Don't get me wrong. I'm cracked, okay? I understand this. But in all seriousness, and it's not just takes, it's like what is the word I'm looking for? Like level of confidence also. Like certain takes, when you're expressing, oh, this is what I think about this, you should be able to say, yeah, but I'm not fully sure. I'm like kind of like 60-40 on this issue. I kind of lean this way based on what I've seen. I'm just so sick and tired of black and white just repeating what the leader said. That's what all American politics has become now. Honestly, including on the left to some extent, but it doesn't bother me as much because, like, if someone wants to just parrot Bernie Sanders and AOC and Mamdani, I don't really mind that when the opposition is, like, literal fascism. So, like, you know, I'm not going to complain in that regard, but we can talk about Venezuela, but if you're wrapping up, we can do another time. Do you want to debate Venezuela? Because, yeah, that's a whole long conversation. I don't know I want to get into right now. Let's hear a hot take, then. I don't know what a hot take... Like, I need a... I don't know which takes of mine are hot takes. It just, like, it comes up, and then I see if people think it's a hot take. Because, I guess this is a hot take in left... I'm not, like, an isolationist. And I don't think that, like, America should just, like, cede the world stage to Russia and China. Which I feel like... Foreign policy conversations are made so black and white. It's so annoying how black and white these conversations are made, where it's like either you want America to like invade every country and pillage their natural resources, or you want to like withdraw America's influence from every corner of the world. I feel like there's something in the middle there. I don't know. Populism is brain rot. I hate populism. Populism is a marketing technique. It's not even an ideology. Populism is fully a marketing technique. All populism is telling people it's the people versus the elites. And I understand that sentiment. I want to tax the elites and stuff, but it's too vague to be productive. Because when the right is talking about the elites, they mean like Anthony Fauci and like college professors who are educated, right? For the right, the elites are like subject matter experts. And the people are like MAGA. So populism to me is just a lazy marketing strategy that works very well. It's like a low effort, high reward marketing strategy. And it's also like an aesthetic. I think America should be what it used to be, not the world police, someone to respect. Here's the thing. I think it's okay for America to have influence on the world stage. The question is, how do you exert that influence? Do you exert that influence through diplomacy and economic interconnectedness, or through drone strikes? Thoughts on Pluribus? Amazing show. Has potential to be a top 3 show. Bernie's populism wasn't easy. It's hard to make difficult concepts sound beneficial to common men. I don't think Bernie's policy platform is particularly complicated. I would apply that more to like Elizabeth Warren. Like, Bernie is like, I love Bernie, don't get me wrong. Bernie's not a huge like in the weeds and in the details type of guy. Elizabeth Warren is like a lot more of a technocrat. Like, I'm gonna ask everyone here, does everyone remember the controversy of Elizabeth Warren's healthcare plan versus Bernie Sanders' healthcare plan in the 2020 primary? This was like a huge thing, and like I remember like the Sam Cedar people were like really mad at Warren, and Bernie's plan is better. Elizabeth Warren objectively had the better healthcare plan. Just in terms of like the logistics of how to implement it, right? Bernie wants single payer health. Bernie's proposed health insurance plan would, if implemented as he suggests it, would give America one of the most progressive healthcare systems in the entire world. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, by the way, but this idea that like Bernie Sanders is a centrist on the world stage. No, Bernie Sanders is like center left on the world stage, but he's not a fucking centrist. Like he wanted a single payer system that covers hearing, vision, and dental. Now, I'm not even saying that's a bad thing, but that is objectively way more generous than most single payer systems. And he also wanted us to transition to that single payer system over a very short span of time. I believe Elizabeth Warren's plan laid out that they were going to have like a sliding scale where like, I'm forgetting what it was, but like every few years, they lower the Medicare eligibility age by 10 years. 60 to 50, 50 to 40, 40 to 30, 30 to 20, and then all the way back down to 0. And that way, you're easing people into the Medicare system, and you're, like, just like abolishing private insurance over the course of a year or two would be economically disastrous. That doesn't mean we shouldn't get rid of private insurance, but there's a way to do that. Like, the means are actually very important when it comes to politics. When we talk about universal health care, I agree, single payer is the way to go. How you get to that is of the utmost importance. And by the way, this is why I love Mamdani, because Mamdani's whole thing, he always says this, is like, if you believe in a strong social safety net and a strong government that intervenes in the economy for the benefit of the general public, you have to believe in, like, actual government efficiency. And, like, really thinking out how we do these things. Because anytime you implement a government program and you do it haphazardly or incorrectly, or you botch the implementation, it reflects negatively on the idea. If someone tried implementing single payer and they did it in a really stupid way, it reflects negatively on the idea of single payer healthcare, not just their implementation of it. And one issue that I have with politics right now is, like, people are so focused on the top line description of a policy, but not the actual implementation of the policy. Does that make sense? Like, all of the actual heavy lifting is, like, in how you, after a bill is signed, that's when all the hard work begins. So, like, when we signed the infrastructure bill or the American Rescue Plan, and everyone's like, mission accomplished, no, mission secured, now we have to actually do the mission. And I feel like that's, like, no one really pays attention to that part. Oh, we didn't even talk about the Minnesota fraud stuff today, I realized. And by the way, it's the Minnesota fraud. Anyone calling it the Somali fraud, just stop. Like, what are you doing? It's so gross, bro. I made a video about this. People can just watch that video about the fraud cases in Minnesota. It's like, clearly, Minnesota is not properly auditing payments or, like, reimbursements to nonprofits. Do your cousins think you're cool for being a TikToker? I assume so. Maybe. It's weird. People probably saw my story. Dude, I got recognized yesterday for the first time ever. And, like, it was kind of weird. Like, not in a bad... Weird sounds negative. I was, like, very flattered and thankful. It was just really weird. I've, like, never been in that kind of position. So, when I meet people and they, like, think I'm cool because of what I do, I honestly am, like... I don't want to say it makes me uncomfortable, because that sounds like I'm, like, not appreciating that people appreciate what I do. It's not what I mean. It's just a very weird position to be in. Shout out to that guy, though, that recognized me yesterday. That was fucking crazy. I lost my train of thought. I forgot what I was saying. I was just trying to fill up the time and yap until 1 a.m. before I end the live. So we got 5 more minutes of yapping about whatever before I hop off for today. We respect your intelligence and passion. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Hold on. What the fuck is going on here? I'd be honored to meet you. I'd be honored to meet you. It was so crazy, bro. I sit down on the plane. I'm buckling my seatbelt, and some dude, like, 2 rows ahead of me is like, "Hey," and I look up, and I'm confused. Like, what? Is this guy gonna ask me to, like, switch seats or something? And he goes, "Are you Adam Khan?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, like, I watch you on Instagram and TikTok. Like, I love your stuff or whatever." I'm completely caught up. Like, I was shocked, because I'm not in any place where you'd expect this to happen. I'm flying back from DC airport, like, back home, after visiting family. It's not like I'm, like, at a Jubilee shoot or something. The weird part of it wasn't that. It's that, like, everyone that was sitting in our section of the plane is now staring at me. as like people are like frozen putting their fucking luggage in the overhead bin, just like looking at me, and I'm like, bro, I'm sitting there with my Chick-fil-A sandwich, and now everyone's staring at me, and the woman sitting in my row is like, oh well, looks like we have a celebrity on board, and then I'm like, I'm not a celebrity, though. You need to smile and wink. I really don't receive praise very well. Like, I don't know what to do in that situation. She was like, oh, we have a celebrity on board, and I was like, yeah, maybe like Z-list celebrity. Like, I don't even have a 100-count TikTok yet. But regardless, I appreciate that guy. He ended up, I think he stood up on my story. He actually saw my story about it. So I appreciate that, and if you do see me ever in public, please don't hesitate to come say hi. That was just like a really crazy experience for me. It's like the first time that what I do on the internet like manifested in the real world in like an unexpected way. Do you follow your first IRL fan? I should follow him. I will follow him. Gaethje or Patty? I don't know. I think Patty looked good against Tony Ferguson. But then again, that was Tony Ferguson, so I don't know how much to take from that. I think probably Gaethje. If you are with family, can we still come up and ask for a hug and high five? Sure, yeah. That's fine. Fine by me. I'm just lucky that someone who enjoys my content saw me in public, bro. Imagine I run into some fucking MAGA person. Like, that's like the scary thing about doing... Because my initial thought is like, whoa, this is really cool that like someone watches my stuff and notice me in public. And like I have that kind of impact. Then I was like, there are plenty of people who watch my stuff that probably want me to die. Or think that I'm like the spawn of Satan. And what happens when one of those people sees me in public with my family? That's like actually... Because I saw Dean... I saw a clip of Dean on his live talking about how like the FBI came to his house because he was getting death threats. And Dean is at a very different, much higher level where like he's probably getting recognized on a daily basis in public. So the risk profile is like much higher for him. But like yesterday was like a wake-up call where I was like, okay, once you start getting to the point where people can recognize you, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, because then people who fucking hate you are going to recognize you too. And there's a lot of fucking freaks out there. So. And then I'm like, wow, all my socials are my first and last name. I feel like it's a little creepy. Would you ever stop making content if you were to get recognized that often? No. Successful change on your perspective. True. This is true. I would hate to be a celebrity because I'd be afraid people would think I'm chopped in person. Bro, I was cooked yesterday. I have a cold sore right now, which I'm hiding with this mic. I always get cold sores in the winter. I don't know where this started or what happened. I'm sitting in the plane with a cold sore. I'm sleep deprived. I'm grasping onto a spicy Chick-fil-A sandwich, looking for a movie on the Delta screen right after I buckle up my belt. Like, I was fully caught off guard. It was not a situation where I was ready to be perceived by other people. And honestly, I'm moving soon. I'm moving soon to Chicago, which I feel like if I'm not around my family, I feel better. If I'm like with a family member and I get recognized, that's where I'm like worried about the safety of my family. If I'm just recognized and it's just me, honestly, bro, and I've been thinking this about when I move out, does Chicago have like concealed carry? I don't think it does. I feel like Chicago has strict laws. Oh, concealed carry does exist in Chicago and throughout Illinois. That's something I would consider when I move. Honestly. What are you doing if you saw Liam IRL? I don't know. I'd probably just laugh at him or something. Will you hire an interior designer for when you move? I will be the interior designer when I move. I have things planned. Both of the DC airports are also so draining to travel through. Yeah, it wasn't too bad yesterday. It was fine. But yeah, I know what you mean. he would do a push-up competition with Liam on the spot. I need to start doing push-up. I had like a thing last year where I was like, every day, just do a bunch of push-ups. Even if it's like you're going long periods of time not working out, it's like just throw in some push-ups here and there every day and it makes a big difference. And I stopped doing that like a couple months ago. I need to get back on that. What do you think about Trump saying he wants Greenland next? I don't know what to say anymore about Trump. Authoritarian, breaking the law, regime change, like it's just... It's like the boy who cried wolf, except there was an actual wolf every time he cried wolf. And now there's a fucking army of wolves. And still no one cares.